or for whatever reason, Fugi not working. I guess I just gotta log in again. Hold on. How's everybody? Give me a second while I start hopping. Is it jumping now? Wow, no. Ooh. Oh, I know. How about now? Nope. I guess my Fugi broke. Gotta probably reset it. Let me see if changing the avatar real quick fixes it. Maybe? No. Is it just not? Oh, I think it's just because Discord isn't detecting my voice. Go check that. How about now? Discord. Alright, there we go. There we go. How's everybody doing? Happy New Year, happy holidays, happy everything. We're back here to actually record Metroid Prime 4 Beyond so I can make videos about it for Orpheon and stuff like that. Trying to get some stuff here so I can see chat on my end. My dock broke on OBS, but there it is. Now I should be able to see. How was your guys' holiday breaks, if you had any, of course? Look, it's a lizard. It is Tomboy Tuesday, wow. Yo, Chad, why does Twitch Mobile take like 5 minutes to load stream? I don't know, man. That game is on. I did show on Discord me playing Prime 2 and 3. It was great. Yeah, Prime 2 is my favorite, man. Excuse me, I got sick over the break, and I got a bit of phlegm. I'm asthmatic as well, so like, extra phlegm, so I do apologize if I sound a little bit more nasally. This is what I was doing during the holiday break. Taking the opportunity to catch up with my 14. That's a joke I watch. And she isn't a tomboy. But yeah, Echoes is my favorite. As always, I went back and replayed all of the games before Beyond came out. So yeah, I still prefer Echoes over Corruption and stuff. You know, Magic the Gathering is getting a new set in 1.5 weeks. Wow, I didn't because they haven't spoiled sales till yesterday. Damn. I mean, at the rate at which these Magic sets are starting to come out, it's like almost impossible for me to catch up. Even more so because like I can't really buy any of the cards, so that certainly doesn't help. Now I'm just trying to set up the stream over here. No. You got sick too? That holiday flu sure affected the world. I didn't get sick, but 2 family members did. I rarely get sick. Yeah, I got like a flu of sorts. It was annoying, especially because I was like at the beach and stuff. So like, you know, it was already warm as this, that now having to be sick just made it more uncomfortable. But I'm feeling way better now. Good enough to stream and stuff. I was just visiting Sally in Animal Crossing. I redecorated her house because she was like one of my first villagers. So her house was just literally like a dirt floor and the block uh, bed. We're also still having capture card issues, so I'll try my best not to die and play well and stuff. I mean, fair enough, but most of the time the reason is that they drown the set out with new things the second it is out. This one just got shafted. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I meant. Like, I can't get excited over a set because when the set is coming out, like, I feel like it's got no time to live before the next set is announced, and then the next set is announced, and all of the you know, channels like Tolarian Community College or whatever are just like talking about it. So like, I don't know, man. It's kind of sad because like I really liked playing Magic and stuff like that. I still love drafting with my brother, but I feel like the Commander and Standard formats have just become like a crazy beast that I just don't have the ability to catch up with. Not being able to play it like physically also does help because like I know I can always just play it virtually, but for me a lot of the fun is just like holding the cards. It could be that I have super immunity, but I did have a bit of an itchy throat, but I recover within a few hours. Odd. Well, you know, maybe you just have better immune system to that particular virus. In my case, it was kind of that like I had a double whammy. Kroko got sick. We share a, you know, we live together, so like one gets sick, the other one is bound to get sick. And then when I traveled for the holidays, there was like a lot of people that were sick. They got sick in the house I was staying at, so I owe it up to like a mixture of a lot of different things. Do you have a favorite deck color combo? Well, my favorite deck is a token deck that my friend Shadley, who's in the chat, helped me make, and it just generates lizard tokens. This is the lizard, my character from Final Fantasy XIV. So it's just creating a bunch of hero tokens from the Final Fantasy set so I can play all my different lizard token cards as a bit. And then the other one that I like is a bird deck because I like birds. In terms of color, I tend to like red a lot. Red, black, red, green tend to be some of my favorite color combos. It's really been a while, so I can't really say if it's still a thing or not. But at least it was the case like back in the day when I used to play a lot more. Phil, don't Kenny how most everyone on the planet got sick, so out of my slight paranoia I developed a new idea for a setting. Ah, cool. She is a tomboy, you dense is the name of the tomboy deck. Yeah, Shadley made that deck. I might stream it with Gabe and Pawn. We might get together and play Echo Commander and just like do it. 5-color dragon player, where you at? I thought you guys were hey, Jun. Yeah, you know, Jun them out. How was day? Day's being so far good. I was just done doing some things in my Animal Crossing dailies.
Dailies in Animal Crossing?
Yeah, I gotta turn in my fossils and hit my rocks. Plant my money trees. Go double check red because I'm still trying to get the mysterious painting. I see Prime 4, I click, then I see Animal Crossing, now I leave. Well, you'll miss Prime 4 then. Because you didn't have 5 minutes of patience. You'll miss Prime 4. This is a pre-stream.
This is a pre-stream.
I made a deck for Knight recently, so invite him too if this starts online. No, yeah, okay, for sure. Yeah, we can make like a 4-player commander a stream one of these days, and that way I can show off the deck
oh hell yeah
Shadley for the bits. It's just that I commander can be so easy for like the one player to snowball and just like ruin all the fun for the table. That I kind of play draft. Alright, after I get my coffee, I'm swapping to Prime 4. I see that a lot of people are here on the stream. Hello everybody, Happy New Year. I was about to ask, need to send some emotional support BL Starmon? Yes. I also need to get back into Digimon for the streams, but I could probably do that after I'm done recording Prime 4.
Prime 4?
I'm just waiting. I was just like finishing doing this stuff before the stream, and I just wanted to finish all the things before I forget later, because my island has gotten even chuggier with how densely populated it is with all my little Metroid secrets, but we'll be swapping to Metroid shortly. Hell, if I happen to be awake early for that day, which happens to once every 7 blue moons, I may even be your judge in rulebook. Yeah, that might be fun. Oh, Frank? What are you thinking about?
Frank is thinking about things.
Also, taking the opportunity that you're in pre-stream, I sent you 2 pictures: waterfall or no waterfall.
Let me see. I like the waterfall, but I would see about like maybe pushing it back so it's a little bit less noticeable. That way it also kind of feels like rain, which is what I have in my apartment. Welcome to my house, Frank. Chat, this is Frankie Frico. He's one of my best friends. Oh, here are my villagers so far. Hon, if you're here, I might bother you later because I might need your help choosing a different villager. Yeah, I have a lot of burp. I have Frankie, who's burp. I have Amelia, who is burp. Sprocket is burp. Rio is burp. And so is Cranston Hopper, too. Alright, Frankie. Oh, shit. I gotta leave you, dude. Gotta go play Prime 4. I found a video that goes over
Oh, look
sequence
at that.
breaks
You
that
made
were
him
found in
sad.
Prime 4. I could send it to you if you don't want to Prime 4 beyond longer. Sure, send it to me. I'm mostly like interested into seeing how do you do those sequence breaks and whether or not I can do them in the first place. Mostly because like doing sequence breaks seems like fun. All right. Gosh. Everyone, good lord, what happened to your island? Mr. Orson in a bit crushed voice due to the sheer lag. Yo, check out my lizard on that rock. Speaking of a lizard. You'll have to bear with me, Chad. I'll break the immersion a lot because I have to go in and name the files and stuff like that. Is the game loud enough or is it too quiet? I can't really hear it. Good. Your voice is louder than the game? I mean, isn't it, don't you want to be able to hear me more than the game? Wow. It's at the max. I don't know what to tell you, Chad. It's like a max volume. All I see is Beyond in that title screen. Yeah. I see Beyond. A Metroid Prime Federation Force story awakens. Man. Is that better? I don't know. I don't know how much louder I can make this. This time around, I'm gonna keyword try to get the actual 100% and all that other stuff. Just for the sake of video lore, being able to read all the lore and stuff like that. But man, if I miss one scan, I'm fucked. I hate that so much. It's also a shame that like the whole menu is like so much emphasis on like this the teleporter artifact, but it doesn't really do much of anything in the story. Shine Sparkers just translated that Famitsu interview about development in the timeline, and honestly, the full thing made me so frustrated. Well, I'll have to I'll have to go and read it. I was just waiting for like the interview to be translated by people, because I did hear that like it's supposed to take place in like an alternate timeline or some other stuff, and that just seems like so silly that that's why I personally am like, all right, we need to ditch the timeline. Metroid needs to just restart in like an alternate universe timeline type of stuff where it can have its own new continuity of characters. Like, it's still Samus, it's still Ridley, they act and behave, but it's not like, well, this is in the year 20x10, so it's after Dread, you know? Do not forget to scan the Carvix vault. Remind me when we get there. 9 minutes videos where they list the skips. Alright, I'll look at it later. Don't worry. Oh my gosh! He's Silux! I forget that he's in the game. I didn't even get the chance to like... No. You know, there was a part of me that was waiting for this game. In order to like update my timeline video and all the other videos I might have regarding the game, Samus's power-ups and stuff like that, taking into account now that there's Dread and Beyond since then. But man, the Beyond really not give me much to add, sadly. Oh my gosh, there were Metroids in this game? When does Dread take place? 20x6? No, dude, it's way ahead of that, because this game is 20x9, and this is between Super Metroid and Fusion, apparently. 20x6 is like Federation Force now. So Silex stole the Metroids. So the last Metroid was never in captivity. Apparently. I don't think it was in an alternate game. Timeline. The game is between Super and Fusion, and viewers in a different dimension. Yeah, that's what it kind of meant. I don't know if it's before or after Other M, though. None of the game makes any sense in terms of how this fits with the other things, and I don't really care about that. 2026 Tomboy Leaser, thank you for the bit. They said it takes place between Super and Fusion, but once Samus gets teleported, viewers start to split timelines from the rest of the timeline. Yeah, so only the intro takes place between Super and Fusion, which I still think it's dumb. Because then, like, you know, it kind of, like, deflates Super Metroid, because Silex had Metroids all this entire time, you know? What do you think of Silex being some random Federation soldier? My issue is not that he was a random Federation soldier. Is that there's no reason for his there's no motivations behind his actions in his backstory, so we didn't really gain anything new. You know? him. I remember being excited about this intro because I saw like the Federation Force Max and stuff. Little did I know that I was just gonna play a Federation Force side story that allows me to play as Samus. It's also the one Metroid Prime game that does not let you scan your gunship.
That's
Like, I think they could have done so much with Silex, even, like, with him being a Federation trooper or not. So, what are the missable scans in the intro of the game? The Space Pirates and the Avarax? So, I guess that this purple crater thing, in the end, just turns out to be whatever canon that was shown in the Silex story that the pirates were using in that one cutscene. Wait a minute. Oh, I guess I gotta scan these guys too. I just don't like the fact that I don't know what goes into the logbook or not. Well, like in the other games, you just had like the recorded a logbook.
We're holding our position, but the artifact is at risk. We need immediate. Samus, you made it. Command needs you to secure a
Yeah,
sensitive
the thing that breaks the timeline is the fact that the last Metroid was never in captivity. So the galaxy was never at peace.
When you're ready, scan the door and head through.
And it also kind of deflates the Federation cloning the Metroids after the whole thing, because, like, after Super Metroid, you know, the galaxy's sort of really at peace, so, like, alright, now we can go back to the thing that we intended to do with the Metroids in the very first place since we discovered them on SR3D8. And the whole Ceres research station, you know, try to find a way to use them for the good of civilization in space, but I guess not anymore.
Security is locked down. Use your scanner to get to the door.
Alright. See, like, before the game came out, and the more I think about the game, I have my own theory of what might have been, like, sort of an original idea for Silex wanting the artifact, and then how does that connect to the green energy and the rest that happened in Veros. But even this tinfoil hat theory of mine seems like a bigger stretch than all the things I had said for my Dread video. So I don't even know. I don't even know at this point. Yeah, kill them. Yeah!
You did it!
I want to join the pirates, man.
Did you?
Double kill. Where's my Weevil game? Chat, no. we asked for another Hunters game and we got this. Also, I don't know why the
Do you
voice
really
acting
want
is so
another one like this?
I can't hear you.
You cannot hear me? Damn.
Hold on. I might have to do some audio mixing. Because, like,
Standing by for further instructions.
see, like, the delivery is just so stiff. It feels like they just had like a day or two to record stuff. Alright, I'm gonna lower it here. And then I'm just gonna increase the filters for chat. So that way at least the game is like higher for them. There we go. If you let one trooper die and another live, one of them will scan the other for life. Oh, neat. I just think that the voice direction in general is miss. This is not like this is, I wouldn't say it's an issue from the voice actors. It's more about like the direction. Because Corruption had the benefit that its voice casts were already like these legendary voice actors with experience, like Troy Baker just voicing all the random troopers, or Christopher Sabat voicing Rundus. That I like the fact that like they have newer voice talent and stuff like that. I'm always pro higher new voice talent and stuff like that. But the voice direction just seems very stiff. Like they're not adding anything with their delivery that really conveys their personality or emotions.
Or anything that helps to progress through the story, or anything at all.
Yeah. They're just reading the lines and doing like a voice. Damn, Samus! Red velvet cake! Can't wait for that line. Haha, it'll be like 2 birds in 1 stone. Like in Prime 3, all of these guys were just voiced by Troy Baker. No, I don't know if that's Betsy, chat. It could be just any other mech. Die. Who was he shooting at? Oops, all Troy Bakers, yeah. Another thing that frustrated me is that in that interview is that they talked about, they requested specifically, told Hunter's Dev not to explain Salix's story so that they could do more of his characters in later games. Specifically wanted that, in fact, it was Nintendo of America that asked Japan to make the game. Yeah, I know. I'm asking, like, where's the story? There's no story here. I feel like the problem with this intro is that it just doesn't have a purpose besides being an action scene. Yeah, I feel like the issue with the intro is that normally most of these Metroid games, the intro sort of sets the tone and the mood and foreshadows what the themes of the story are going to be. I like Beyond's as a subverting your expectations. You think it's going to be another action-oriented game like Corruption because of the intro, but it's not. The issue I have is that then once you get into the main adventure, it doesn't really feel like there's much of a cohesive narrative like the other games or stuff. Who has the best voice direction? View 995. He has the best one. I'd say that Tokabi probably has the worst one with Armstrong. But I'll see it again. This is like my 4th playthrough of the game, so we'll re-experience it together. Now that like I'm in reading mode and stuff like that, you know. I really think that like if instead of having 5 Federation Force troopers, if it was just View 995. He could do the same thing that all the other troopers do. Still pilot the mech, still fix Betsy. And I feel like his dynamic with Samus would be much more interesting because it's a robot who talks and stuff, versus Samus, who emotes more like with body language. So that way you have these two working off each other and stuff like that. And then like you just leave, you find View where Mackenzie's at, and then you leave him in base camp because he's got to repair himself, salvaging parts out of Betsy before you start building Betsy and stuff like that. Do you think Silex will be a recurring character for this new story plot for Prime series that Tanava says he wants to do? Well, if it's the case, consider me like uninterested. Because this is like, I feel like the reason I was so excited about Echoes and Corruption was because the first game made such a strong first impression on me. And Beyond had like the complete polar opposite. I also think the View works because like we already had like Adam AI fusion and Dread. So having something that's like less of an artificial intelligence and more like an actual beep boop robot would add a little bit more of that dynamic with like, I'm just a Federation soldier, and he's like accessing networks and stuff like that because he's a bleep bloop, you know? He's already got all the weapons and the firepower and stuff like that. That I don't know what Sarch and Tokavi and the rest can add that View doesn't already fulfill by just being in the story. If View wasn't a thing in the story and like it was, I don't know, Sarge or Armstrong the pilot for Betsy, then sure. But I just think that having this heavyweight class Federation robot that can fire rockets out of its shoulders, and it's got this high frequency vibration arm thing, and it's very big and strong and can toss Samus across chasms, serves a lot more purpose than dudes wielding guns. Especially when the dudes who wield these guns don't seem to be perplexed or concerned with their situation of how they got there, what might have happened to their friends in Tanamar, or Sealux, because last thing they knew, Sealux was invading. Also, Deadway, I see that you posted like a massive, massive comment, but I can't read it right now, dude. I'm trying to fight Jabate, the space pirate. This guy really debated me into thinking that they were going to do more morph ball stuff in the combat. And also at this point, I guess Samus is still not like Metroid, because it's not, fusion hasn't quite happened yet, so. What do I think about the combat in this game? I think that the controls for Samus are the best. The speed and the dodging and sort of the morphing in out of ball is its best. However, the bosses don't really take much advantage of anything, so I think that they're just like regular first-person shooter, hit the weak spawn and bosses die. I know that that's like the case with like 95% of the Metroid Prime bosses, but usually some of the other ones have like, you know, the Omega Pirate destroy the shielding, and then he turns invisible, and then he summons troops, or Flagra not being able to deal direct damage to it, or like Echoes with its several morph ball only boss fights, or something like the Grapple Guardian that you need to lure into a specific area, and stuff that like it just like most of these bosses are just shoot enemy boss until it's stunned and reveals weak point, and then you deal damage to them, and then none of your beams or missiles really feel like they do any more damage than just spamming the power beam. So it kind of makes it feel like it's kind of like whatever. Yeah, the bosses are also like very, very spongy, health spongy. I'm no Metroid nerd. I barely play Prime 1 or 2, but I think Silex could have relied some humans to his cause to eliminate Samosa and claim Federation Forces Galaxy instead of getting a few troops to drag alongside the game. Emphasis on dragging them. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I don't think that's a core problem with Silex.
Yeah. Missiles feel, not only missiles feel weak in this game, so do like super missiles. And you get those like end game. And nothing really feels as like devastatingly powerful at any point like in the other 3 Prime games. And so like that's just like the end game Samus doesn't feel comparably stronger to the start game Samus for me. I really thought that we were gonna do something with this. Like Adult Chica, not only do you have to grapple to get behind its back, but you also have to use the Seeker missiles to hit his wings so it falls into the water and turns into Dark Chica, which summons the Chicklings, and you can now deal more damage and stuff like that. And whatever. Even power bombs feel like just as strong as any of the other games, but the kaboom and like the radius doesn't feel as satisfying as like when I just dropped the power bomb in the other games. I do love the fact though that I can just like throw them at enemies. The interviews also say that the new people were sick of open worlds and that FPSs had evolved, but they were locked to the original 2017 design doc. Yeah, like since Prime 3, like I played, you know, Titanfall 2 with its mobility and how the maps have secrets and stuff like that, that I thought they could have used some of that as references, or so many other things that they could have done. And I think that my main issue with Prime 4 from a gameplay perspective is that all the other Prime games and all of the other Metroid games feel like they're trying to do something with their world and how it relates back to gameplay. But Beyond's only thing is Soul Valley. That's sort of a hub world with the viola, so...
Feels like lazy writing rather than being stuck to whatever issue they had.
Yeah. No chat member, you're not here because you left during the Animal Crossing, so you're not here in the chat, really. You can't debate me. The original team came out with a control beam and said it's because she's psychic, but handed it to Retro Studios to make every other psychic ability. They also seemed really proud of the mysterious world they made, so there's that. I mean, I guess the world is mysterious because there isn't much to it.
I don't know. Feels like a cop out.
Yeah, it does. It feels like just the bare minimum of what these games normally tend to have. Oh my gosh, it's a bot. Gabe.
It's a bot.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I need to do something about that bot. Now that Midnight's not here.
I was hoping for answers, but now I feel like I have more questions. Yeah, that's usually how I feel about Beyond the more I start thinking about the story and the lore and how Silex and Samus fit into it all. Because it almost feels like the story in Viros is just completely disconnected and disregards anything else that the game has, to the point that it feels like 3 different games mashed into 5 or so different games mashed into one. Some devs trying to blame Bandai for this. I mean, I blame mostly Nintendo because I know they said no backpedaling on the development. But I don't have all the cards on the table to know fully what happened. But I can say that the end result is rather eh.
I don't know, Chad. I cannot blame Bandai or anybody because, like,
They started from scratch. At most, they will keep some of the assets.
Also, one studio blaming the other seems rather unprofessional that I really kind of doubt.
Yeah, not only that, I mean, if
That's
they
like an
start
easy
from
way to get
scratch,
yourself like blacklisted and not like have people want to work with you.
hmm but again, if they start from scratch,
Go on,
there's no
do your
point to
thing.
like going. There's no point on like what's the word? There's no point on doing like keeping the gameplay the same. If you want to keep the gameplay the same, then stay with the other team.
For
So
me,
like
dead
saying
weight.
that they got stuck on something, then that's just a cop out.
Yeah, for me, dead weight. I wasn't looking so much to explore Fury Green because I just saw it like the new Torvus, the new Talon Overworld. I was more intrigued with like Flare Pool or Volt Forge, and I felt like I was left wanting more by the time I was done with either of them. This, again, I stand by the fact that I feel this game is just a soft reboot of the original Metroid Prime. The Force Awakens of it, if you may. Retro definitely had a horrible development, let's be honest. Yeah, but they also had a horrible development with the original Metroid Prime or Echoes, and look at those games.
Like
And in those
there's
cases,
not one
some of
game.
those development horror stories from like the original Metroid Prime are even scarier when you consider that like their boss was just outright stealing money from Nintendo. And these
That is
guys had
true. I
like
do
zero
remember
experience
that.
making games because they were just
Not
like
only he was
effect
stealing money
studio.
from Nintendo, he did an entire fucking porn website where he featured himself and used it to promote and promote it through the Nintendo servers.
Yeah, like it's a so like this is like a different era where like there's a new blood of retro with developers who've made other games before and all this other stuff.
And these are not just anybody. There's people from Halo. There's people from Bungie. Like these are just known and not no-name people.
But yeah, this is what I would consider like Metroid Prime Force Awakens. You go to the same areas as Metroid Prime. You're once again the chosen one, just like it was in the original Metroid Prime, for some ghost, psychic aliens. Green energy is just a new phase on. There's a mines and ice, a lava area, ruins, green with a big temple. Um, so like I don't see much that's like adding to the mythos and stuff. I wish Silex monologued at Samus the whole game like Gruntilda. That might actually make funny if it were Silex instead of Mackenzie. Hey Samus, don't know where to go? Well, fuck you. It's also funny that whenever like the game's pacing like stops, the answer is go back to ice to Volt Forge. So yeah, my shitpost name for this is Beyond, a Metroid Prime Federation Force Awakens story. Similar to Rogue One, a Star Wars story, but also with um Force Awakens. Metroid Prime 4 is the game people were fearing Metroid Prime 1 was going to be before it came out. I absolutely agree with that. I just can't believe they restarted development because it wasn't working, but then they told Retro they had to keep on all their ideas to save on pre-production money, and then committed a ton of outside stuff. Yeah, I mean, some of the outside studios, I think, from what I read, is that Retro was saying like they don't have the manpower to do it, like all the stuff anymore, so. Metroid Prime Beyond Repair? Holy shit, brain. Savage. I also, even if I like the rest of the game, I'll be honest, I don't really like this part of the intro because, like, at least the other part in Tanamar, I was like involved in like playing the game and stuff like that, and here I'm just like on a Disney ride once again, which a lot of this feels like a Disney MCU Star Wars type story. The Federation troopers are especially like the thing that cements it a lot to me because of their writing, and like their personalities and like how undercooked they are. Yeah, but surely don't commit that much to something that wasn't working. I mean, I totally agree with you that way. For me, the thing that makes no sense is like, all right, why say then that you're restarting development from scratch if that was a lie, you know? Metroid Prime 4 Ubisoft. Oh gosh. And again, I'm not trying to actively dislike the game just for clicks or because I hate the game or anything. I'm doing this because, like, you know, Metroid is my favorite. And this was my most anticipated game ever. And I was following along with the news, and I was one of, like, the main guy going out on my streams and on my social saying, like, just give it a chance. I'm sure there'll be something and whatever. And then, like, you know. The desert is the worst part. Yes and no. For me, the worst part is not so much that the desert exists, but that the other areas feel so shallow and they don't have anything to backtrack towards to in general. Just because you have to go back to base camp because Mackenzie's telling you to go back to base camp so he can give you the fire shot is not backtracking. Like, for me, backtracking is more like what happened in the original Metroid Prime, where, like, you go back to Talon Overworld, and now you can go down into the down Frigate Orpheon and discover a whole new section of the map you didn't know existed in the first place. Or Phendrana Drifts, where you first go into, like, the Chozo ruins sort of area, and then into the Chozo Temple proper, where there's the guy holding the plane of existence in his hands. And then you reach the pirate facility, and then the Phendrana Cliff section. And all of that is just Phendrana Drifts. Versus Fury Green, which is like what you see with Mackenzie, that's it. So, like, when I mention the things, again, I want people to understand I'm not trying to actively hate the game. There is no one on this platform, planet, whatever, that was as excited about Beyonding as I was. Well, I could have made that into two. He is famous. You know, Mackenzie, he's famous. So, like, it takes 30 minutes for you to start playing the game. Certainly not as bad as Corruption's intro, but I feel the other thing I dislike is that, like, I see a lot of people defending quote unquote or like when I talk to people, like defending Beyond's shortcomings when it's the same type of shortcomings they were complaining about from Mother M, you know? To be honest, fair, I think Corruption Intro had a smoother entrance to the real game. I don't. I feel that Prime 1 has the best intro. The Frigate Orpheon is just too much of a beautiful, silent storytelling, atmospheric introduction. Metroid Pro says he hates the new game's guts to no end. More of this fake news on page 69. Thanks for the bit and the joke, Mewtwo. Appreciate it. Echo's intro is great, but I just think that it doesn't have a Frigate Orpheon moment. Which is why I would consider Prime 1 to have the best one from an objective standpoint. No, I'm not playing on hard mode. I am streaming the game to. Now that I've had my chance to actually play the game, blind on stream, offline with Proco, and then just like a casual over the holidays that I wanted to now properly know how the game is, that I feel like much more comfortable recording the footage so that my life in editing is a lot smoother. Because I can break it down into parts with a little bit more planning than like, oh, here's 4-hour stream, and I gotta look for this one clip where Armstrong says, "Check it out, Sarge! She's doing the morph ball. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!" Metroid Prime forced gimmicks included. I wouldn't say that they did even a great job in the atmosphere because it's very shallow. Keyword shallow, and then like I don't feel as much personality on the environments as like the original game. And because a lot of it is just retreading things that the original game did, it doesn't like help me find anything that's unique to Beyond that I didn't feel its predecessors did with a little bit more gravitas or effectiveness. Again, why is Silex not the chosen one? Because they never really explain what makes the chosen one the chosen one. Like, it's the same chosen one story that the original Metroid Prime had. But in that game, the entrusted one would only sort of prove itself to be the true entrusted one if they collected all 14 artifacts to the temple and allowed them to enter the temple. But in this, it shows later that Chitoya doesn't really know who the entrusted one is because they're dead. It's never like a force ghost. It's just pre-recorded messages. So for a second, I thought that maybe Silex had entered through the artifact before Samus, and the green energy was just like the Metroid DNA, that he's doing it to like fuck with the timeline because he's in the past. And he's trying to get his hands on the Master Teleporter and all that because now he's got like an entire planet with Grievers, and in a way to just corrupt things with like control the universe through his Metroid Fusion DNA thing. Now that he's got a Master Teleporter to just like unleash onto anything, so. Hear ye. Interactive Motion Picture Critics calls Nintendo's new Metroid shallow and hollow.
You're welcome.
Keep checking the logbook to confirm if you skipped the Lamorne tablet as a pro tip. Well, I'm trying to play as much I can from memory. I just really wish that there was like the recording to logbook thing back from the other games. Also, scanning. I did a test. Scanning in this game does take longer than the other 3 Prime games. It is slower. What's with the Metroids being able to fuse themselves onto other things? I don't know. Ask Nintendo, because they sure did not go anywhere with that.
They didn't talk about it, they didn't explain it, they didn't shit about it.
In the meantime, between streams, do you check any interviews of Prime 4's development or unused camp conversations or something? I did see the unused conversations at base camp. I was listening to it the other day. Just because, like, from I'm a writer and editor, an animator myself, so I'm always, whether I think it's good or bad, there's always something to gain for reference for your own projects. So I was listening to it, but I haven't really seen anything of the development because I'm kind of waiting for the full picture to come into view before I start reading things and then I have it wrong because it was updated later, or the Famitsu interview hasn't been fully translated into English by somebody and stuff. I compare to this, between this and Other M, I gotta be honest that I'm slightly a little bit more leaning towards the Other M side, just because I feel that the game's marketing was fully transparent with me about it being something completely different and new to the Metroid universe, and that I was gonna have to deal with Federation troopers and the gameplay and all this other stuff. So I kind of like went into the game knowing what to expect. Again, I think that the biggest issue with the game is just that the fucking Wiimote D-pad bullshit. But in this one, I feel more like I was expecting a Metroid Prime 1 type game, and instead I got Federation Force Halo 5, Halo 4, featuring Duke, voiced by the Doomslayer. Like, I don't feel like the game is adding anything to the mythos of the franchise, quite unlike Echoes or Corruption or even the original ones did. So every time it's sort of reusing things from the other games, it feels more like, again, a soft reboot rather than like a homage. Because like when Magmore Carvins was using the Lower Norfair theme, I was sort of okay with it because Magmore Carvins was doing its own thing that was different from Lower Norfair. And it's got its all story and lore, and you can explore it and whatever, but you know, in here you're done with Mario Kart, and then it plays the Metroid Prime 1 music, because remember Metroid Prime 1? Like, I was expecting Silex to have a story and a plan regarding to the Lamorne and the artifact itself, but... Also, chat, I noticed one thing when playing the game. There's this one door that you have to open with your psychic powers by, like, moving the thing. And it was in the same trailer that showcased Samus's new psychic abilities. It's the only time that you have to do that for a door. Like, the only thing I've found so far that helps me know if something is for the scan log or not is because this is at the bottom view logbook. Yeah, you do hear Burb. It's the Great Kiskadi that's making a nest in my window. He's very cute. I've called him Killer D. Once I get to the door, I'll let you to the door puzzle. I'll let you know, chat. Oh, here it is. This thing. Like the psychic shutter. You only have to do this mechanic for a door here and then never again that I can remember. That's it. If the unused combos have better writing than they decided, yes, I do believe that some of the dialogue that went unused seems a lot more interesting and dedicated to expand stuff than what's actually in the game. But yeah, views, voice lines are amazing. A shock a day keeps the engineers away. It still gives me a legitimate chuckle that I like that joke type of stuff. Mackenzie's VS website says how everyone loves him and has nothing bad to say about him. The funny thing is that I find that from the human troopers, Mackenzie's the best one. Both personality, what he adds to the story, and what he does. He's just, unfortunately, the guy that decided to be your navigator that talks to you every 4 minutes. So, like, I'm pretty sure that if you replaced him with, like, Armstrong, people would have hated Armstrong in the same way they hate Mackenzie. But I just feel that people give Armstrong a pass because she fanboys over Samus and is a girl. Even though Mackenzie also just fans voice about Samus, but also contributes some other things to, like, their situation and stuff. Oh, Isopod does not go into the lockbook. These things don't go into the lockbook. No, Samus... Armstrong being a Samus fan is not a cool idea. It's just an idea. because every Federation trooper was a fan of Samus all the way back in like Corruption and Federation Force. So it's nothing truly unique because Mackenzie's also a fan of Samus. Mackenzie was fanboying about being with Samus before Armstrong even was rescued by Duke, and then does nothing. I like
Nothing gained, nothing
Mackenzie
lost.
as a character on paper. It's just that I feel that, like I said, them choosing that he is the navigator character that chimes in every moment, what makes people hate. That if you made that Duke or Tokabi or Armstrong, people would have the same distaste for those characters as they have for Mackenzie. He does fanboy about Samus because he goes, you know Samus, she's famous, and other stuff. It's just that he doesn't just go like, oh my gosh, Samus did a thing, I know what that is. Oh my gosh, Samus, you got a new suit. And Morph Ball, Boost Ball, I know what those are, you know? It is still fanboying. Fanboying isn't just like what Armstrong does, though. You can fanboy in different ways.
That is true.
You're alone on a planet, no hope of survival. But you're also not sitting next to Phil anymore in that cubicle, so win?
It was such a wishflash listening to Armstrong gushing about Samus, questioning if it was a Metroid game. Yeah, that's my problem with a fanboy about Armstrong. It just takes me out of the Metroid seriousness in moment. It feels more like an MCU funny ha ha ha, I grabbed Captain America's shield.
Samus Aran? Hey!
You're gonna tell me that this reaction is not kind of like fanboy a little bit.
Please get me down. I'll just stay right here. Try not to die.
The issue with these guys is that Nora doesn't have anything to contribute aside from I'm fanboying over
Shoot some more!
Samus, that's why we just categorize her as the Samus fangirl. Versus Mackenzie, they give him more stuff to do and more layers to show, which makes him feel like he's not just Samus the fanboy.
Not sound friendly.
Because he's got like, did you scan me? What does it say? That also feels like in itself a more cheeky, ha 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 fan service than, look, she turned into Morphle. It's like they took an RL fan and made her meet Samoza. To me, when they say Federation Force, I think about army people in Sirius. Yeah. That's the problem with Armstrong. It's just like, what if a Metroid fan was in a Metroid game? It doesn't feel like natural or that she's adding anything to her character. Again, if you replaced Mackenzie, like if right now we were saving Nora, and she's now the one that is telling us to go back to base camp and stuff like that, I'm pretty sure that people would hate her in the same way that they hate Mackenzie. Sorry, my capture card is still not really doing any favors. And here's endurance round 1 of how many that there are in this game. A lot of it's just endurance rounds. Like if Nora is really like that much of a Samus fangirl, it doesn't feel like because like the idea that having a fan character of Samus in the Metroid game feels like it should be used to relate information of previous games to newcomers, but she's not doing any of that. She's just fanboying about things that Samus does.
We're good. Okay. I'm coming down. Thank you, Samus. I'm Specialist Miles McKenzie, Engineer Level 4. I have something for you. Hold on, I gotta manually override this.
Like I see a lot of this like nervous interaction. Also, it's like he's a fanboy. He's just very nervous being around Samus and stuff because like it's Samus.
Boy, this is
And here's a joke that I honestly found kind of funny.
Did you just scan me? What does it say?
Like, not even Nora has, like, that type of a line when you scan her.
See? No biggie.
Yeah, Nora is like someone who knows Samus from a Smash Brothers game rather than a Metroid game. Mackenzie does feel more like he knows who Samus is because of the Metroid universe. And a lot of it is just conveyed passively by the way he reacts and he talks in regards to Samus. Nora just seems like she talks to Samus like if they were buddies already. I know who you are, I'm a big fan, so I can just... So, Samus! You know, she literally does say that.
A little token of my appreciation.
Thank you, Mackenzie.
If it's okay with you, I'm gonna tag along.
Ah, sweet summer child, please.
So, where to?
I will say that
Might be a good idea to check the map and get our bearings.
I will say that I think Mackenzie from the not counting view has probably the best directing. But I think it's just because his character naturally has a lot more to offer than the other ones. Like, Duke is just like some war veteran sergeant. Tokavi's just some Mandalorian at home type of bounty hunter. I like that Mackenzie at least like reacts in a way that seems more
Standing water? Those things seem pretty territorial.
unique to a Metroid game. He's like a fish out of water. He's way above his head and outside of his element, and stuff. No, we're not going to use the save from Mackenzie. You know what also doesn't help? When characters like Duke downplay the situation. Because like when you go to the Great Mines for the first time, he goes like, "So this is the belly of the beast. Gotta say, not impressed." So like that like completely underwhelms everything that might transpire afterwards, you know? I also, you can tell like the names are kind of like because the base is called Base Camp. It follows the same sort of like silly connection as the other things. Is it okay to ask questions, discuss things of the ending? Yes. I don't know. Let me first be like, all right, chat. Is there anyone in here who's actively listening who hasn't finished the game? If so, please speak up so that I prevent spoilers, because regardless of what I think, I don't want to be the reason why I don't want to be the guy who spoiled somebody else's experience, but by all means,
Technically me, but I'm not gonna play the game anymore.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know they reference Norian in the manga currency, but I bet the writers just googled Metro Galactic Federation planets and Metro money for those. Yeah, it kind of feels like that. Whoa, a hawk just flew by. It feels like that because they don't really, like, it would have been cool if, like, Duke was like, yeah, I was in Norian when the Leviathan fell. I was just a regular Federation trooper back then, and Samus saved my life, and that made me want to do better. And then I eventually, you know, he worked his way and became a sergeant, and then Nora could have been like, whoa, you were there during the Norian invasion? Wow, that's so cool. Yeah, me and Mackenzie were there, blah, 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 you know, or something along those lines. But it's just like, they just dropped Norian curry, and that's it. You know, you could have called it Corvus curry, and it would have been the same thing. Are these the same Reavers? No, don't scan the massive bridge. Another endurance round. Endurance round number 2. I call this an endurance round because I cannot just, like, ignore the enemies. I need to... Mackenzie will just stay there. And if Mackenzie doesn't follow me, I don't think I can move forwards. I'll try it on the next one because it's just closer.
This is the last stretch. I'm going for it. Cover me.
No. Let's see, can I just skip ahead and... Oops. No. I can't, alright, so it is a 4 segment because Mackenzie, so it is an endurance round. It's also sad that this that I'm fighting won't change at all throughout the rest of the game, except for the fact that they'll add Cybots and Spitter bots. The main, that's what I call the maintenance drones, spinner bots, because they spin.
Sure we were gonna make it.
If there's no objections, I ask the questions now. Yeah, go ask the questions. Mackenzie died.
I'm good. I'm okay.
Mackenzie didn't die.
What do you
But
think
you know
about
what,
the idea of
boys?
Salix may use them his Metroids to possess the Feds troopers, forcing Samus to fight and kill them in a sequel? Pretty... I don't really like the sound of that idea, to be quite honest. Because, like... I didn't like how they used it in this game in the first place, that I feel like... And I don't like the Federation in general. That, like, now being... forced to fight the Federation people seems less interesting than, say, Silex took over some other benevolent species or whatever, you know? Like, I feel like the only thing you need Celux to do is to be like, I hate the Federation.
I have no idea what we're doing here,
But then again, I'm more of that type of guy. I think that, you know, it would be no different than if Dark Samus did that thing. And therefore, don't feel like it's that adding much to anything.
There you go.
I don't know, I just feel that the Federation, like the Space Pirates, are just like plot devices for like what is true good and what is chaotic evil in the Metroid universe, and like the neutral good that Samus kind of is. That I don't really like when the stories are too focused on one or the other. The Space Pirates, I'm able to turn a blind eye because of what they did with things in like the original Metroid Prime, with it being High Command in charge rather than Ridley, and it being a different plan and group of pirates that felt like they were trying to do other things. But I don't really like the ideas of when it's like a Federation centered story or something along those lines, because I find those to be the less interesting aspects of the Metroid mythos. Federation troopers are just Star Wars Clone Wars clones, you know? The team in this game is just like the Bad Batch or some other Star Wars Clone Wars product placement. And that is not what makes him, in my eyes, is a Metroid story, you know? Might work for Star Wars, it might work for a Metroid spin-off, but not like a main Metroid game. I think it would be cool instead of have Prime 5 where you just get logs of them where they died. I just want Prime 5 to just not have any of this stuff from this game. Because in terms of like mechanics, or I should say more the story and the characters, don't feel as interesting. There's a few mechanics in terms of just gameplay that I did like the psychic throwing, the new thing that you can do, the boost ball and spider balls and stuff like that. But
Mark 99 Mech, this is Samus Aran. Bounty Hunter, you know her. She's famous.
and you're telling me that's not him fanboying?
Familiar. Betsy? What are you doing here? I worked on her back at base. I'll take a few scans. Maybe we can come back here and get her. Poor baby. She's torn apart. Trying to find the missing pieces. I bet we could get her up and running again. I poured my heart and soul into that mech. Poor Betsy.
You don't get something like that with either Duke, Nora, or Tokavi, is all I'm saying.
Look at this place. This planet's tech is a wonder.
The thing about salvaging these characters, Chad, is that I don't think that the characters... There's no point in salvaging characters when, even in this game, they don't feel like they're contributing much of anything to the gameplay and stuff. Like, I'm just... They're just here, they talk, they provide flavor text, and guide you where to go, and that's it. But they're not adding anything to the gameplay, or the exploration, or the sense of mystery or dread. If anything, it feels like they're doing like the opposite.
So, Samus, would you give it a try?
No, I forget I have to do it, all this other stuff. That if at least on paper I could see why they added these characters aside from having people talk to Samus and deliver story, then maybe I would want them back. But Metroid didn't need characters like this to tell me the story before. I knew what happened on Talon 4, on Aether, on Norian, on Elysia, on Umbrio just by reading it.
We can use this tech to our
Excuse me.
advantage. I just need remote access to your logs.
Angry Samus noises, yeah.
Data chip. You think it'll work?
Like, Mackenzie and the Federation troopers are the reason why they don't talk about Silex. They distract us from the Lamorne. Samus doesn't really interact with them or anything. So, like, what is there to salvage aside from it's the character called Mackenzie and his design, and he's an engineer who's kind of a dork. There's if you're guys disappointed by this game, there's a game that you should play. It's called Metroid Prime 2, baby. Echoes my beloved. It's my favorite game, dude. I love it so much. The lore and the world and the storytelling is just so tight that in this game feels like it has nothing of it, but with just more bloat. Dank, my beloved. I know, right, Pong? Metroid Prime 5 has to learn from what worked in Prime 1, 2, and 3, make improvements from the mistakes of Prime 4, never be on a planet, station, or pocket dimension, and also find something that it wants to say or a theme for the story. Because I feel like that's something you can apply to almost all the other Metroid adventures, and it's kind of what makes them special. But Beyond doesn't feel like it has anything it wants to say of its own. If that makes any sense. So much... Dang, my beloved, so much she has hijacked Elysia as Viper. As Viper? No, Pond, there's a difference. You willingly gave your Elysia phase on because you wanted Elysia to also be enlightened by the dang samosa goop. I hadn't appreciated how seamlessly Planet 2 manages to have so many ideas that bounce off each other instead of feeling like they're entirely avoiding each other. Not to mention that they did that while also having like boss fights with unique mechanics. And stuff that continue to tell a story. Lamau. They just don't use the strengths of having characters in a game, which sucks because they'll give more people this idea that Metroid just shouldn't have characters in the game. Again, I feel that Corruption and Echoes did anything that this game wanted to do with its troopers way better, with already way more interesting characters in a much more interesting, fleshed out world that I just don't understand why we want to salvage from this. And racist stakes. Imagine how it would feel to go with one of them to Beacon and find their friends killed by Grievers or another monster. Grievers? Why not killed by Silex? And then they use that as a catalyst to move the story forward with Silex and shit. Shatin Harand, Tetin Baradan, collect the green MacGuffins that killed us all. Why? Because the fruit needs it. Why? Because it accelerates its cells. Ah. Okay. Thought this shit was bad.
Yeah, that's the other part that I didn't understand. Like, if it's bad, why do we need it?
It's good for the environment. It was just bad for them. But that still seems kind of like, you know.
A cop-out.
Yeah. Because they never really tell you that there was this focus test. They just did a few tests on plants and like stuff, and they saw that it grew them, and then they decided to pump that shit into the atmosphere, and whoops. You don't get like in the original Prime, where the frigate Orpheon, they were testing Phazon on these harmless parasites, and that forces them to mutate into the parasite queens. Beasts so dangerous and ravenous that it killed the space pirates, and these guys are not to be fucked with. So then you go into the planet and you start reading more about Project Helix and the other project that they had of infusing Phazon into their troops, and that slowly snowballs into you discovering like the Phazon elites and the Omega Pirate. That just feels like there's a natural ebb and flow to the story behind it. And just like Ghosty was saying, one of the things I liked about the previous Prime games is that they all connect to each other into a greater story, but they also work as well as just individual self-contained chapters. What would you say are the big themes of each Metroid Prime in one word, few or less? The original Metroid Prime is like... I would have to think about like it to put it in one word. I would say that Echoes is definitely about loss and mourning and like what's the name, like when you lose something very valuable and stuff like that. Prime 1 is more about like mystery and danger. The game's commercials itself say it, like evil, in order to be destroyed, it first must be found. And then Corruption, I think, is self-explanatory. Demise and utter annihilation. Carvex Vine. Carvex. Proper. Scan the plant boss 3 times. When is the 3rd time that I need to scan the boss, though? I scanned 3 different things already. Is that it, or am I missing something else? I scanned the projectile, I scanned the tentacle, and I scanned the boss. Anything else?
I don't know.
See, scanned. I would also say Echoes also has the themes of legacy. Yeah, it does also. But I feel like the themes of Legacy can be applied to any of the 3 Prime games, because there's also the Legacy of the Chozos on Talon 4, and then the Legacy of the Reptilicas on Brio before the War of the Lords of Science and the Primals, and then the Legacy of the Elysians on Skytown. So that's why I didn't want to scan these nuts. Fucking Mewtwo, thank you so much, man. It's funny because it's a plant boss. You never know if it had, like, nuts. Like, I feel like the whole legacy point that you're saying, Ghosty, in regards to Echoes can be applied to any of the 3 other Prime games. And even this one in some regard. It feels like the whole theme of Legacy is just something that the Metroid series, all Metroid games, just tend to have in general. Just because Samus is sort of like the legacy of the Chosen. Alright, I can't scan this. So I'm assuming I got 3 things. I'm pretty sure we're fine. Or at least I hope so. It's also sad that Carvex doesn't really force you to use the Morph Ball. I can't really remember a boss fight aside from Abarax that has a mechanic that forces players to engage in Morph Ball. Since you're here, did any of the Prime 4 bosses got in your top Metro boss ranking? No. I don't really feel it. Maybe I'll see this time around, but I don't think any of the bosses in this game would enter my top bosses. And I wouldn't say that as a necessary negative to this game. More so the fact that Metroid has had some incredible bosses over the years that I just think no matter how good or bad this game would have been, would just be encounters that are too hard to top, be it thematically or mechanics. Because, like, you know, there's no encounter against Silex that has the same build-up and payoff as, say, the encounters against Dark Samus on Echoes, or the same type of impressive scale as fighting Mulganar in the Brio Leviathan seed, or like the sheer horror, alien strangeness of the original Metroid Prime, or the reveal of the Omega Pirate. I guess it would have been better for me to just say Echoes is one of the best that uses that theme by connecting with death and loss. Yeah, but at the same time, like I said, it's the same thing that happens on Brio, because if you read the scans, it's also about death and loss, and the legacy and the mourning about what Brio used to be and how it was destroyed by its own people, despite not following the Chozo's advice. And then the same could be said about the original Metroid Prime. I feel that all of those 3 games use it equally as good because they take it into different approaches. Samus, please plant the seeds of knowledge to carry our memory, so that the universe may know how dumb as shit we Lamorne were. Check if you have 3 scans to make sure. I scanned 3 things, my dude. Omega Griever, how are you using the Morph Ball? For what? It's gotta be a mechanic that I cannot do unless I'm in the Morph Ball. Not just like so you can dodge that one attack. Because there's a sidestep. Yeah, look. Carvex. Carvex Vine. Carvex Pollen Sac. So there's the Sand Beast at the end, technically. Well, I wouldn't count really the Sand Beast at the end, because it's just like for the killing blow. It's not a mechanic during the boss fight. What was the mechanic with the Omega Griever and the Morph Ball? I generally forgot. That's like the 2nd time I see it in chat, so. I must grab the teleporter key. It's like funny. I'm 1 hour and 30 minutes since I started the stream, so not even all of it being playing this game, so. You bombed the Omega Griever's crotch. Oh yeah, right. Yeah, thematically they all lack compared to the other Metroid games, but I gotta say Omega Griever was a highlight for me. Even if it's just fight as the Omega Pirate reference knockoff. I think that it's just a highlight because the boss gets more armor that makes it difficult to stun. But the way you defeat the Omega Griever is no different than the way you defeat Karvik. Stun its weak its thing until it reveals the Metroid weak spot, and then you just fire at it. At least with the Omega Pirate, you know, they had the boss is constantly chasing you, pushing against you, so it forces you into keeping a specific distance with it. If you're too close, it'll swipe at you with your face on with its face on claws. If it's too far away, it'll fire its turrets, and then you gotta worry about the 3 phase-on pulls in the arena, which will deal damage to you. And then on top of that, once you destroy the 4 armor platings, it turns invisible, so it forces you to use your X-ray visor. But it also summons the troopers that can come in and for backup. And then you just have to defeat it in those lengths. But it's also the build-up that there is towards the Omega Pirate. Why I think it's such a fun creative boss versus the Omega Griever, who's just hanging on a wall to dodge my missiles, and then he does the same mechanics that the Omega Pirate does. He just grows more armor. But I don't have to change visors, I don't have to swap the beams to defeat the specific Grievers, and the Omega Pirate shockwaves and stuff kills his allies, which adds just a little bit more of a layer of detail and dynamic to the combat that just couldn't do. Also, like, this game had, like, the hindsight of 24 years versus the original Metroid Prime, which came out in, like, 2002. So, like, I don't think it's, like, people saying, oh, this game, this boss bad because he does 3 attacks, but the Omega Griever, you know? They're the same thing. It's just that one clings to the wall. I do like how it uses the power bomb to bait you, the capsule. Yeah, it does that once, but that's it. I mean, it is a cool part. I'm not denying that. But I wouldn't really say that it adds much of anything. Because it's also like how Fenoros baits you into its death before you fire the control beam up its throat. Like, I feel like if the Omega Griever put that out, and then you can grab it, and then he's trying to eat you, and then you fire, like, a missile down its throat, or Morph Ball, or something along those lines, that maybe could have been cool. Or if you could use the grapple beam to just jump onto the walls and sort of force him not to stay up there.
Really coming in handy. I've been able to translate the Lemorn language.
Yeah, what made the bosses in the trilogy was that they found creative ways to use all your moves in some way. Yeah, or at least some of it. So, like, at least the Omega Pirate forces me to use the X-ray visor, which I just got, and, like, make sure I keep an eye and tabs on what troopers it summons, so that if I decide to engage with them while I'm in the X-ray visor as I wait for the Omega Pirate to show up, I can memorize, alright, there's a plasma trooper or a power trooper, and all this other stuff. But the Grievers, you just continue to shoot. So when the Omega Griever summons regular Grievers, there's not much of a... It'd be like if the Omega Pirate just summoned original pirates.
I can provide you with intel from here. What do you say? Teammates?
No. Could you imagine if Samus just went no?
Safe out there, Samus. I'll be here if you need me.
It's like, there's no boss that uses the Spider Ball, like Quadraxis, or the Grapple Beam, like Chica, or the Morph Ball, like a Morbus, and Quadraxis again, or stuff. The only one I can really think is, like, Celux 1. Oh, boat-built flycatchers. Celix 2 uses the grapple beam. Yeah, but, like, that's it.
Be careful, Samus. You won't have me to watch your back.
I hate how the other humans can interact with the Lamorn tech so easily. Yeah, I guess, suppose.
Alright, I'll be back real quick.
No problem.
And I walk the puppy.
Like they never like. There's also humans that I guess they know how to use Chozo tech thanks to Samus, but again, I just for me it's less about the fact that a human can use like Lamorn tech, because I would see that as just a Lamorn making their technology more accessible in some ways, and that's part of the reason that you could argue that they were so wise and smart that they made their technology so simple to use despite how complex it is. Because I think that civilization's advancement is not just measured by how advanced the technology might be or how magical it seems, but also how accessible it is. And even then, I wouldn't say that Silex 3 uses much of the grapple beam, because it's just to yank off the tentacles. So it's like a whatever mechanic. I would say Silex 2 really uses the grapple beam way more. Also, technically speaking, Silex 3 uses the grapple lasso and Silex 2 uses the grapple beam. They're two separate power-ups. And you can't say anything because the game treats it as two separate power-ups. Loading screen like it's Armor Core 6. We got a job to do, 6-1. Don't forget to sandwalk in the desert, lest you awaken the wrath of the Shai Hulud. Or the God Emperor himself.
What you see in front of you is the entrance to the closest area with the teleporter key. If you want to contact me going forward, use the radio command on the map screen. I'll help in any way I can.
So yeah, Silex 2 is the only one who uses the grapple beams. Silex 3 is the only one that uses the grapple lasso. But there's still no like boss that I can remember that uses like the spider ball or the boost ball. I also think Samus's voice actress is Neil Nell from Xenoblade X, which makes it even more disappointing she can't utter a word. Especially when you consider that Neil Nell in Xenoblade X felt like a Samus character. She's also Air from Armor Core 6, so that also makes it even more frustrating that she doesn't use anything there. I was expecting Buddy. I got your back, buddy. I hope you got mine. Two voice characters in Telltale games, I think. I wouldn't be able to tell you. I looked at the cast yesterday for curiosity's sake, and the only real things I found of noteworthy were Duke voices the Doomslayer, and then Neil Nell and Xenoblade X. Celica, best Xenoblade X character. She's a C tier at best in my book. For me, Zelma, the best Xenoblade X character. And then Neil Nell. And then Liesel. And then Doug. And then L. And then HB, because he's too funny. Who will you pick for the next Smash Brothers? Ravenbeak, Silex, Rundas, Gore, or Gandrada? Alright, chat member, look at the stream. Which of those characters that you mentioned is actually on the stream? I think that would answer your question. It's Gandrada, for sure. So, my question I was going to ask chat, why is the purple gemstone making Samus tweak about Silex's backstory? Is it because he's in Chrono Tower right now? Is that why? Like, I just think Gendrada would be fun because you can make her like an amalgamation fighter that uses abilities for other hunters. And sort of an all-in-one, and then a final smash that has her actually shape-shifting. Between Ravenbeak and Sylex, Sylex is the one I want the least in Smash Brothers after this game, to be quite honest. I would rather have anybody from Corruption before Sylex, or even Weevil. Or Spire. Look, guys, it's the other enemy we'll fight for the rest of the game. How is it popping? You know, Chad, what's the funny thing about that? Is that Al is one of my nicknames, so... Hey, I'm in Xenoblade now. I guess. He's also a character I would put before Celica in my personal tier list. What about Emmy? I would prefer Sylex over Emmy. I just think that there might be something more that you can do with Sylex than the Emmy. I like the Emmys, don't get me wrong, but maybe... How's it popping? Bad, which means terrible. How about you? So again, why is the purple gemstone in my head making me tweak about that cutscene with Sylex? Is the one thing I didn't quite understand. Anybody?
Nope.
Better than... I thought you were gonna say, not bad, but which means better than you, meaning terrific. Sylex is probably sending out brain signals to know Samus's location. Yeah, I guess that could be a thing. Still don't know. Surprised at you, Sylex, yet I still don't know anything about the Kraken Empire. What do you mean? We know more about the Kraken Empire than we know about Sylex. After a certain age, they send their troops off-world, and they have to find a new planet for them to conquer and bring the Kraken Empire to, or else you're left stranded off the home world forever. So Trace's whole story was that it wants to go there because there's more planets for him to conquer, and then the Kraken Empire can be used to... He can use the ultimate power to take over the Empire. So yeah, any clues from anybody of why the psychic mote made by the Lamorne is giving Samus headaches about Sylex's backstory? Or that
Nope.
particular moment, I guess? Collect the green crystals is important. I know, I've already finished the game. This is like my 4th playthrough. Deadzard. Off topic, what's your favorite race species in Xenoblade X? The Orphean. And if not, the Manon. Bum 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 bada bum bam bum. I just love their love for pizza. Unironically, I think it's super cute and funny. But I really like the Orpheon lore and the Orpheon sort of way that they act and behave. If I were cheating, I probably would say the clue because of Nil Nil and Celica, or whatever purple is, because we didn't really get an answer to what species purple is, but if not, it probably would be purple. Boys, this is my favorite race in Xenoblade X. Great, I can't wait for the game to show me in a cutscene where I have to go and what I have to do, just for Mackenzie to then interrupt me with the same information. They're a law for solid frozen pizza. Bum 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 da 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 da. I love the side quest where they're trying to make pizza like a currency in NLA. Maybe all the Lamorne are connecting psychically? And because Samus and Silex are the only living beings with psychic gems, they occasionally connect to each other. But Silex doesn't have a psychic gem. He just has nanomachines. There's no purple gem or something on his armor or head, quite like Samus, so... Ah, shit. Fuck, I hit yes by accident. No. Fuck. Volt Forge is linear, so I have no idea why Miles interrupts you here. Volt Forge, Fury Green, Flare Pool, and Great Mines are all linear. The only semblance of actual exploration is under Ice Belt, and even then I would say it's kind of like limited. So yeah, Celux doesn't have like psychic powers. Will you say is the hardest boss in Metroid Prime 4? I really haven't sat down to think about which boss I would consider the hardest, because I find them all sort of like equally easy or hard. I only wish the xenophobia is a bigger thing in Xenoblade X. What do you mean by that?
You mean xenophobia?
I think it's big enough as is, given how many side quests there are with the topic, but if that's the case.
I mean, the entire game is pretty much hatred against the other race.
Yeah. And mistrust and stuff like that.
Yeah, and war between each other.
Wasn't the connection to the tower granting him access to everything? I don't know, because it's not explained. So that's why I'm asking for theories. If he has control of the tower, then, like, why not just, like... I don't understand if Silex has control of the tower and he uses Metroids to corrupt the 5 beings who have the master teleportation keys, then why hasn't he just used the master teleporter himself? You think Nintendo was embarrassed by this game, that this is why they hid the other Federation troopers until later trailers? Maybe. I wouldn't be able to tell you. I just will say that I don't like the fact that they've sort of debated me into thinking with the little things that they show that there was more to this game than there really is. I mean, xenophobia? Oh. Well, I think that there's enough of it in the game via the side quests and some of the main topics and everything in general, and how Elma even reacts to some of the situations that you start noticing in like subsequent playthroughs. But then again, maybe it's something I noticed because I've played Xenoblade X like 5 or 6 times already. Why are the teleportation keys even a thing if the Lamorne want you to leave the planet with the seed? I don't really know, except for the fact that because they left the keys to beings that were sort of sentient and that they trusted and stuff like that. So like you'd expect that they would have been like the judges that this is the actual chosen one. But then the better question is, was Silex already using like Metroid Fusion to corrupt those creatures? Why doesn't he just take the Master Teleporter keys? with the control to the tower and just uses that to fuck off and take over the rest of the universe. Why is he taking right now a bath of nanomachines? The only thing I dislike is the deniers. Because they deny that Lizer is Tom. But she isn't. She isn't. Also, for those who are new to the stream and don't know who Lizard is, this is a Lizard. It's my character in the critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV. Yeah, they got possessed by Silex's Metroid, so why isn't Silex just using that to activate the Master Teleporter? Is he dumb? Don't answer that question. He might just be dumb. No, this counts for the scan log, right? Lux just wanted to show Samus his new nanomachines. Nanomachines that come out of nowhere, by the way. There's no area that hints that there's nanomachines that can give people cosmic-like powers that can allow him to open interdimensional portals and black holes at will, you know? Samus took brain damage when he crash-landed into this world, but nobody crash-landed into this world. It's green energy magic? No, it's green nanomachine magic. Don't talk to me or my nanomachines ever again. I think the possession prevented them from unlocking the altars to give you access to the keys, and Silex couldn't kill them because he was healing himself. That still doesn't make any sense because the things only show up when you kill the boss in the first place, right? So with Silex taking over their minds with the Metroid fusion, why wouldn't he just be like, make the thing show up and hand me the key? If he has control of Chrono Tower, why couldn't he also use that to access the Lamorne interdimension ghost thing? That's my, it still doesn't make any sense. He cannot have control of Chrono Tower, but not a way to get the keys? He's got all these nanomachines and cosmic portal opening artifact looking powers, but not the keys? My biggest wish is that Silex has some connections to Ravenbeak. I wouldn't have liked that because I like Ravenbeak is a Chozo. Why would there be a connection between him and Lux? Lux just has a vendetta against the Galactic Federation. Steelix has excellent theme music. Guess that's what he was going in the bath. Now that I think about it, with all these, Infinite might have more sensible backstory than Silex, and Infinite has like 2 or 3 disconnected backstories. It's the same backstory, though. I'm not weak! Maybe in the next game we will get more than 1 Hunters. After this one, I'm not looking forward to that idea at all. Also, was it me, or was the final area giving a big Xenoblade final boss area vibe? You mean in what do you mean? Xenoblade what? What final area boss? Is there even 100% secret cutscene? There is, but it's no longer tied to items. It's items and scans because they needed to bloat the game even more and find a way to make you purchase a $30 amiibo just so you can see 10 seconds of nothing. Yeah, but at least that game does something with I am weak, unlike this one. Well, I would argue that Infinite screaming I'm not weak like a crybaby is probably worse than what they did with Silex, because it made this guy who's got an edgy song and an edgy in-your-face attitude seem like more of a crybaby. What is that I smell? You reek of fear. Glad I left an impression. Oh, that's not fear. Oh my god, you got the cave? Dude. Dude, that changes everything. Croco's showing me Animal Crossing recipe he got. That's not fear. I just ran all the way here. And you haven't quite left an impression. I don't even know your name. You can call me Infinite in the brief moments that remain of you. I'm not weak. Overall Xenoblade, but mostly Xenoblade 1, battling on a platform in space. Yeah, I guess. I got more Xenoblade X vibes, but that might be because I have the fight with Void more fresh in my mind than Zanza's. If you removed all the blow from this game, it would only take about 5 hours long. And honestly, I think it would be... That would make for a much more fun game. Metroid Prime 4, you can 100% in less than 5 hours, and that game is a banger. Yeah, but who's more memorable for being weak? Sylix. Because all I remember from Infinite is that he's a little baby bitch who's got infinite power but keeps whining and complaining despite him acting all tough and cool. I think that we just remember Infinite because he was more cringe. And because Sonic Forces is just that bad of a cheesy game in general. None of this is good, Vector. That's why it's Cold War. Chitoya's message wasn't in Sylix's reach since it required the Lamorne crystal to see the holograms, I think. That means Sylix couldn't know about the 5 main teleportation stones. Counter-argument, he's in control of Chrono Tower. You're telling me there's no log in Chrono Tower that says anything about that? Wait, did I miss something? Oh no, I gotta probably just scan this. Yeah. And then activate it. And then he still knew something about the gardens and send the Metroids to possess them, but he did not know about the keys? I just don't buy it, chat. If he's got control of Chrono Tower, then he knows about the thing, because the Chrono Tower is just sort of programmed for that. You need the 5 keys to activate the teleporter in the first place. This is a fun puzzle. This puzzle in particular is very creative and very smart. The last good Sonic game was Sonic X Shadow Generations, and isn't that just a reboot of a game? I am not weak. This part is also fun. Full of little things that you have to dodge, and sort of this part over here is also fun. Where you have to dodge the lasers and use the bike to hide between them. Oh shit, I forgot to stop the part. It's fine. Not much happens here. Why does Sylix have dragon heads? It's again, why do we get visions of Sylix's that cutscene regarding Sylix from our Lamorne memory stone? You're telling me he can control all these machines to fight Samus and Chrono Tower and stuff, but he wouldn't know about the 5 energy keys, teleporter keys or whatever? He corrupted the things that held the keys, which are the only 5 things in this game that are not grievers or robots. My immersion. I guess the only thing left would be him wanting to stay to make sure he kills Samus instead of running and having her follow him later. Then why not fight her now at her weakest? Like, use his black hole powers and just call it a day.
Well,
He's
I'm
just
gonna
still
have
taking
to
a bath with
abandon you for the rest of the
nanomachines.
stream, my friend.
It's all good, dude.
All right. See you, nerds.
See ya.
Hey guys, I got a little game for you. Every time anybody mentions Silex, take a shot.
Gosh.
You will never drink in the game.
You'll never drink. You only drink like once or twice at the end of it.
Yep. The most boring drinking game in video game history.
You know,
All right. See you,
Metroid.
nerds.
So yeah. At least in corruption, you can say Dark Samus was counting on corruption in making Samus weaker, so she can take control. Not only that, but you could also argue that Dark Samus was like the one also busy controlling and manipulating Face to generate the Leviathan seeds and continue with the conquer of the rest of the universe that she really didn't have the time or energy to go and deal with Samus. My one thing with that regarding corruption is that like once Samus destroys the first or the second Leviathan seed, it doesn't make sense why Dark Samus wouldn't just show up to be like, well, maybe this is not working. She destroyed 2 of the 3 Leviathan seeds I went through this whole operation of sending. Maybe I should go and double check that I can finish the job, and then you have a boss fight in which Samus was able to vanquish Dark Samus. Stuff like that, but I digress. It's not really much of an issue. Brain, that doesn't count because the game is not saying the word Silex. You are. Yeah, Dark Samus was literally leading an entire war and all this other stuff. So like, there's an easier like reasoning for one being able to just like not bat much of an eye or attention to it, but in here it really is that Celux is just being a little baby, I guess. Can't do anything about that just yet. Like, if he's got control of Chrono Tower, and if he's... And let's remind ourselves, he's the only one with Metroids. Then how come he doesn't know about the 5 master teleporter keys? If killing the bosses, the guardians of said keys, results with Samus gaining the keys, then why couldn't just Silex, who's already taken control of them, just... You see what I'm saying? The more I try to think about the logic presented about the game, the less it makes sense to me. And I'm asking these questions out loud is just to see if maybe I missed something. You'd expect that maybe Silex knew about the artifact on Tanamar because like he's invading the planet and he's got Metroids that confuse themselves onto things. But those are like just being used as a means for him to get close to this thing and steal it for himself. That if now he has control Chrono Tower, that maybe he knew something. But the game doesn't really like clarify anything. And Metroid is no stranger to having things left purposely vague, don't get me wrong, but in this game it really feels like there's no thing that you can put 2 and 2 together. What is insane is that the plot sounds like a filler episode that is made so that citizen count can't fit. Yeah, it kind of does now when you put it like that. I really hope this game sells well enough we get a sequel in a normal time frame. But not all of them to think this is what we want. The game leaves me confused on so many levels. Well, I'm sorry to say, chat, there's no in between. It either sells well and Nintendo says that this is what we want, or it doesn't sell well and Nintendo's forced to actually look into why it didn't sell well compared to the original Metroid Prime remaster, which was Shadow Dropped or Dread. So I don't really think that the sales is really going to affect whether or not Metroid Prime 5 is a thing, because just look at Other M. All that we can hope is that, like, the sales does reflect that this taste of the community. Because the whole logic just means that if it sells, Nintendo would be like, well, it's sold, so why should we bother? You know? I'd rather them take another, like, for eternity and give me a good game than, like, a normal time frame and it's just more of the mid. Like, the main plot, Silex fighting federations with his Metroids and pirates. This plot, well, how about we focus on something completely different while we have small crumbs that can't even sit on one hand. You can skip sequence to get the Thunder Chip and fight Silex early. Prime 5 is gonna be peak? I don't think so, chat. After this one, I don't know. After this one, I don't know. It's not the same retro no more. And I know that's not entirely their fault, but I'm just, like, going off with what were the ideas that Nintendo wanted to have in this game and stuff. Look at this bike that we don't really use for much of exploration. It's just a means to go fast on a desert. When someone wants to play Prime 4, buy it secondhand so the sales numbers don't go up. Unfortunately, I bought my copy digital because here I don't really have a place where I can buy the game secondhand. Isn't it basically what it is? Unlike previous games, this one was written and produced with plans for a trilogy from the start. I wouldn't really even be able to tell you, because Tanabe had said that they had an idea for Silex. And that's the whole reason why they told the Hunters developers back in the day to not give Silex more story, because they wanted to do more with that guy. But after this game, and seeing that there's none of this Silex, how am I supposed to be excited for that guy in a future game? Wow, another cutscene showing me 3 rooms and 3 elevators. I'll send you the interviews if you want to lose your mind and feel like you're being gaslit. Thank you. Don't worry, Deadweight. I'm already feeling that because I'm replaying the game while discussing it with chat out loud. and nobody can give me like a definitive answer. I still say that I'm happy that Retro's like art direction and adding details to rooms is top notch. It's just a shame that because these rooms are so massively big and empty, a lot of those details just go completely missed compared to like Echoes and Corruptions, where it feels like they were more planted in your face for you to notice. What's an Orpheon? A miserable pile of little secrets. But enough talk. How about you? Oh, look at these robots fly. This is one of the songs that I actually really like from this game. I think it might be the one song I like the most. That I think feels the most on par to what Yamamoto has done in previous Metroid games, of just selling you the area through the song alone. Like, I like this warning thing. I like how it looks, and it's the only red thing and all that other stuff, but nothing, it doesn't do anything else. Cybots! Oh my gosh! Bum bam boom bum bum bottom bum beam bum bum bottom beam bum bottom bum bum bottom. Isn't it also funny that the two main enemies that you fight in almost every area also have an ability to deflect your missiles and stuff? Doesn't it kind of make them a little bit samey? And that everything's weak point happens to be their heads? Another gauntlet, by the way. That's the third one. This room made me think that there was going to be like an anti-gravity mechanic. But no. Also, do we know what Mercury's team is up to right now? No, we don't. Last thing I checked, they were having a lot of layoffs in their company, sadly. It doesn't seem quite good at Mercury's team at the moment. Or at least it was a few months or a year ago. I don't quite remember when I saw those news. Which is a shame. Stop having high expectations, Kappa. Oh my gosh. It's a bigger Cybot. But he looks the same as the others. He's not even a different color, chat. Doesn't even have like purple highlights or something that would help you know that he's like more differenter. I hate these guys so fucking much. Spinner bots. Why do you call them that, Albert? Because they just spin. I guess that's a good trick. Also, I find the control beam very kind of pointless, given that doesn't really do much damage aside from allowing me to maybe deal with these guys a little bit easier. No. Die. Stun locked. Dead. Defeated. Idiota. Why do you pronounce Yamamoto like that? I don't know, because I thought that's how you pronounce Yamamoto. I confuse my English and my Spanish sometimes. In the pronunciation of stuff. I wouldn't really be able to tell you, Chad. I think that nowadays almost anybody can make a Metroid. I do remember from, if I remember correctly, from when like before Dread, Sakamoto was trying to get like funding and a team from Nintendo to just make Metroid 5, but you know, R&D 1 was shut down, so he didn't really have anybody, and he had to like do massive convincing for the Mercury's team. Oh hi, you make some great stuff. Hey, thanks, man. I really do appreciate. I'm already starting working on my Beyond review video sorts and stuff, so I'm hoping that it's interesting and fun by the time it comes out, despite people's thoughts and opinions of the game. My aim is always to be able to make at least entertaining and fun videos for you guys. So I'm very happy when I get to see the comments and I see you guys still discussing stuff or interacting and stuff. It means a lot to me. Sakamokos. So yeah, I don't understand why the psychic stone in Samus's head causes her to want to relive those particular moments regarding Silex. Wouldn't it make more sense if it was something regarding like the great tragedy? I also thought at one point that because we were collecting all the green energy and Samus herself isn't born with the psychic stone, that being exposed to so much green energy might have made her into like a griever of sorts by the end. But no. I think that would just make a little bit too much sense with how the story presents stuff, you know? Like, no, for real. If there's a cutscene where the cannon in Flare Pool fires the green energy and Samus is out there, how come it's not affecting her if she's got the same parameters as the other Lamorn? Or the one parameter that Chatoya tells you is the reason. I like the game, it just feels small. I wanted more upgrades and more paths and stuff. I just feel like it's not quite a Metroidvania. It's just a AAA game that happens to have one or two aspects from Metroidvanias, but not the important ones. How many different studios were main developer studios for all Metroid games until now? How often did the studio change? Well, it used to be Nintendo R&D 1. This developed... It's only 3, maybe 4. You got R&D 1 who made the classic games from original, Metroid 2, Super, and Fusion. And then you had Retro making the trilogy. Mercury Steam then came along for Samus Returns and Dread. I guess Team Ninja for Other M. Even though that was also like with Nintendo. Then there was Next Level Games that made Federation Force. And also this game. And then there's the guys who made Inti Creates, or no, I forgot the name. That made the Hunters game, and that's it. Unless there's also a different studio that made Pinball that I forgot, but I could have sworn it was the same as the ones that did Hunters. So yeah, I don't really understand how come the green energy rain does not affect Samus, even though she's got a psychic stone. And the thing Chatoya tells you that the green energy affected the Lamorn to turn them into grievers was the psychic stone, and that's it. Nothing about their genetics or the energy itself. Helio's at home. Alright, just do the attack. Like, the flare pole cannon fires twice throughout the game, and none of those green energy exposures seem to affect Samus. And if it's the suit that kept her isolated from the green energy, then how come it didn't do for the Lamorn? You're telling me that in a Lamorn world, no one else had one of these suits on? That doesn't make any sense. The suit doesn't never say that it protects them, and if it did, then how come the Lamorn didn't do it to protect and save their own species? What, are they stupid? You telling me that they didn't do more Viola suits with their Viola bikes, even though I just used a thing? Sorry, these are just shower thoughts I've had when I try to discern the lore and stuff for videos, but I can chalk the green energy question as this: bird magic. Because Samus has been corrupted before, they're just repeat beats from Prime 2 and 3. Then why have it as a thing in the first place? Why have green energy in the first place if it's just gonna force you to repeat the phase-on thing, but it's now green? Makes no sense, Simon. Kamina didn't die for this. Samus could be wearing the suit, but not every citizen. So you're telling me only 12, the no Lamorne citizen wore the suit. Because Shatoya says that only 13 of them ended up surviving because they're the ones who were the 10, like the small percent that were born with the stones. It makes no sense. Telling me that nobody else thought about just wearing a suit and then help Shatoya and the rest with their mission, so there'd be more than 13 of them. Because again, it's what Chatoya says. It's that it was the reaction of the green energy with the psychic stone, and stuff. Oh yeah, I forgot this. This doesn't count for a scan, even though it's a boss. I'm pretty sure the Grievers ate a good chunk of the Lamorne population. I could also believe that, but what I do find it hard to believe is that Chatoya in the lore says that the 13 that were remaining were the 13 that were born with the psychic crystal and powers. Therefore, the green energy wouldn't affect them in the same way it affected the others that became Grievers. So, by that definition, Samus should also be affected by the green energy because she was imbued with the crystal. Nothing about the Viola suit or the Viola suit, because she doesn't even have the legacy suit at the time that the green energy is released on the planet again. Offer her any defensive boost to capabilities and stuff like that. I also think this song is okay at best. It's whatever. It's just a cool electric guitar. It doesn't have the same like different beats and ebb and flow from like Rundus' theme or storytelling from Gandrada's theme or the mood for Dark Samus' theme. It's just a cool beep 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 beam 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 from Silex, but it doesn't really tell me anything about him. Which is what I usually praised Yamamoto's music in the past. Who knows what effects it would have on humans? Wouldn't be the same as Lamorne's. Again, I don't think that's the case because Chatoya says it's not because it was them as a species. It was the Psychic Stone reaction. If Samus didn't have the Psychic Stone, just like the other Federation troopers, then yeah, I could believe that. But Samus does have a Psychic Stone. Artificially placed. Just like the lore keeps emphasizing is what happened with a great tragedy. I think... you know, it's a plot hole. Her Chozo DNA maybe, but I doubt it because again, it's nothing about the DNA or the biology. It was the Psychic Stone. Because if not, it would have also affected the entirety of the rest of the wildlife, but it only affected the Grievers because they had the Psychic Stone. It just makes no damn sense. But it compels me, though. If the Viola suit protects Samus, then why wouldn't other Lamorne have Viola suits and join Chatoya at the Chrono Tower for their mission? Why is it only the 13 that managed to be born with the stone? I know that the green energy does not show the effects on humans. You could argue that it doesn't have much an effect because it doesn't affect the troopers or anything like that. But the reason the troopers are different case than Samus is because neither of them have the psychic stone that did the problem in the first place, which is what Chatoya says. It affected the Lamorne that had a psychic stone artificially placed in their head, not whether anything else. So if Samus did not have the psychic stone, then yeah, we could argue that it only affects the Lamorne. But they deliberately say it was the reaction of this fake psychic stone with the green energy. It doesn't have to do anything with them as a species. During the holograms, we never see a Lamorne wearing a full body suit. That doesn't, again, I don't think that's just because we don't see it in one of those that you're going to tell me that there wasn't a Lamorne walking around with these suits when we're in a factory whose entire thing that it builds are bikes in the suit. I don't find it plausible to believe that just because it's not in the cutscenes that it's not something I should be able to take because of the environment. That's like saying because we never see Chozos with Varia suits that they don't wear Varia suits. They built the thing during the machine era. They used it everywhere. You telling me that they didn't wear the suit? That they just made this one suit? It's in the cutscene. It's in two cutscenes. It's in the one cutscene when you get the grab the spider ball, and then there's also one cutscene next to Flare Pool, where he explains more of the great tragedy. In the first one, it says that it was affecting the Lamorne and turning them into grievers, and then in the second one, when the spider ball, he specifies that it was the reaction of the energy with the stone that caused these ones to mutate. They abandoned the bikes in the machine era, but why would? But they abandoned the production and stuff like that. They basically shut down the facility, but not necessarily get rid of the things they already built. Because if not, then like Flare Pool, which was also built during the machine era, which we just saw on the stream, would not be a thing. Or the mines with the technology they built on the machine era. The way it's phrased is that when they realized it was ruining the resources, they started to find an alternative solution that wouldn't come at the cost of the planetary's natural resources. Hence the development and mining of the psychic stones to give other Lamorne psychic powers and launch them into the psychic era. And by doing that, then they decided to release the green energy, and then they, like, you know, became grievers. So I don't understand. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying is Samus was given the stone. She wasn't born with the stone. So how come it doesn't affect her? Chatoya doesn't say it only affected Lamorne. It affected specifically those who were imbued with a psychic stone, making it sound like it's the psychic stone that is the source of the problem. Machine era is implied to be much older. Yes and no, because the things they built in the machine era include the cannon on Flare Pool, which they used to fire all the green energy around, and even the equipment used for the great mines so they can harvest the psychic stones. We just saw Chatoya show it to us in the hologram. The psychic era didn't last too long because at that point is when the green energy was having its side effects. Like it just don't make no sense. Like they built all of the facilities that they would need for their great plan during the machine era. Does that include the cannon and flare pool? Why, if the psychic stone was truly a problem, why not remove it? A, I don't know, but B, I must believe that's because genetically infused to them. Or some shit like that, I don't know. Were they born with a stone on their head, or were they give after birth? Only few. And it was a point where only a few were born with the stone, and then after the machine era, they start to mine them in the great mines, the psychic stones, so they could give these same powers to the Lamorn who weren't lucky enough to be born with the psychic powers. But it was that same process and reaction to the stone with the green energy which caused them to mutate according to the Chatoya scan in the temple in Ice Belt when you get the spider ball. You even see Lamorn suits similar to like what you might assume their version of the viola for like the Lamorn in Flare Pool in several of the rooms and stuff like that. So it just doesn't make any sense, man. All right, hold on. Like, nothing really says that the like if it's on Samus's helmet, I think it would still affect her because the way the Varya suit works is that it's an extension of her body and stuff like that. It's like genetically tied to her, so. The most BS explanation I can come up with is this: the crystal embedded itself into the Chozo armor rather than Samus herself. Well, it's a part of her. The armor isn't a sentient being. Yeah, but it shouldn't affect the armor. It should affect Samus because they're both connected via the DNA. It's an extension of one and the other. It's been the lore. But like, it doesn't quite give you the answer, so that we're all just playing hot potato with speculations and ideas. So, like, the Psychic Stone doesn't do that, but it also gives Samus's flashbacks to a particular scene regarding more Silex. Implying that the stone Samus is uses is Chatoya stone, that still would not work because Chatoya says that it was the Lamorn who were born with it, the ones who went unaffected, and that's why there was only 13 of them left. Samus wasn't born with the stone. I know it's touching the suit, but we forget, and because the whole point of the suit is it's just an extension of Samus. It's connected to her mentally, spiritually, and biologically. What affects the suit affects Samus. Else, the Phazon wouldn't affect Samus when she touched it, but it still burns her and kills her even without the Phazon growing from inside in the original games. It'd be the same as the suit not protecting her from Dark Aether or some other substance. So why is the exception now? Or an X-Parasite for that matter. It's able to even... The X-Parasite is even able to replicate and take over the armor because it copies Samus's DNA and does work still as an extension of herself. Everything that the series has told us about the armor is that the armor and Samus are kind of like one. The armor is just a different layer of her skin, of her body. If not, then how do you explain that she can use the psychic powers if it's the suit that has it but not her? Like I say, the more we think about it, the more the plot holes start to show. Even here, it makes it seem that the bikes came with the suit because that's how you register the operator. Yes, but at least by the time the great tragedy happened, there was 13 Lamorns who were blessed by being born with the psychic stones on their heads, while the rest of the population were giving the abilities. But before then, they were all riding around in Viola bikes, which would imply that they also required the suit, because even here in the scan, it's saying that by wearing the Viola suit and riding the Viola, the user is registered as the operator of that vehicle. It's... If the suit is the one with the psychic stone, then how come she gets the powers of the psychic abilities? You know? Samus is a strong, independent bounty hunter that needs a man for the most basic beam upgrades. My brain hurts trying to make sense of it. Same here. And most of the people that I see defending or trying to, because they enjoy the story, trying to explain it to me, make it sound like there's less and less sense behind it. You know, I can buy that it doesn't affect Mackenzie and the others because they're just regular humans. And even if they had, with no stones and just wearing regular Federation tech. But Samus is, as we know, a very unique and different case. Yeah, I know the differences between the Phazon corruptions in Metroid Prime. What I'm saying is that no matter what the case is, when you are walking around and you touch Phazon, it deals damage to Samus because, again, it's extension of her body and the radiation and stuff like that. Same with the Exparasites, and same with every other case where something sort of takes over a biological thing. The Varia suit is compatible with it because of its biological nature. It's even the reason it allows Dark Samus to become a thing. So by that reason, Samus, the armor having the psychic stone would still make it that it's connected to Samus because it's connected to the armor. The more you think about it, the less it makes sense. Yeah, that's what I'm basically saying. Like, by the time you get your first beam upgrade, you're wearing Lamorne tank. Should it just be integrated with that? I know, right? And the way the game, like, plays it and everything, even the advertisement, is that the stone is granting Samus psychic powers directly. So why isn't it affecting her with a green energy? Chatoya never specified that it was the Lamorne because of the Lamorne genetics. It was the Lamorne because the Lamorne had infused themselves with the psychic energy artificially. and that caused a chain reaction when exposed to green energy. Even the PED suit, which is an armor, manages to gain energy that she produces from her body in order to engage the hyper mode, once again selling the connection between body and armor. Same as Metroid Dread, with the armor turning into the Metroid suit. If that's the case, then wouldn't just Samus underneath the suit mutate, but not the armor? There's either a connection that's big, or there's not. And so far in all the games, it's been a yes, they're connected. Oh my gosh. Juan sent me videos of chickadees in her backyard. Oh my gosh, they're so cute. It's a black capped chickadee. Is this a first playthrough or already beat the game? I already beat the game 3 or 4 times. Trading one of my kidney stones for a psychic stone. You two, you're on a roll with these. It's not only that, my other issue is not just the story chat, it's also like more the gameplay. Or better said, lack of Metroid DNA in the gameplay aside from, well, I need the boost ball to get the Viola Icy suit, but I'm not going back to Vault Forge and discovering a hidden fourth tower or a complete new undersection, which was where they built their Cybots or the parts that they needed to build Flare Pool or the Great Mines or Ice Belt and stuff like that. It's just going back to one room, you know? Yeah, there's even birds that get mutated in Soul Valley from the green energy, and they themselves don't have psychic stones, so... You know? I just... Like... Also still don't understand if there's any correlation between Celux and the Lamorne, or why the Psychic Stone makes me want to look back at a cutscene that's more regarding Silex. Wouldn't it make more sense if the Psychic Stone perhaps had a memory from like the Great Tragedy or something else tied to the Lamorne? I do like the designs for the Lamorne though. They're so pretty. Yeah, like there's how the art direction for this game is still very strong. It's very strong. I don't think it's my favorite. I think it lacks just a little bit of character, but it's still like super strong and very good. I say sort of the same thing about the soundtrack. It's okay, but I feel like it's just missing that extra je ne sais quoi that made the other games just feel like they have an identity of their own. All right, I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. What do you think about the level design? Wolfforge gets slandered, but I think the concept of one tower centered around puzzles, platformings, and the second one in battle was neat. I don't really like it because it's just 3 rooms and 3 elevators per towers, and that's it. I feel like the thing that you explained was better seen and felt in the original Phase on Mines, because one room was more of a puzzle, and then the second one was a little bit more about platforming, and then they threw a little bit of a boss gauntlet or enemy gauntlet, and stuff like that, versus here, which is just like, you know, this entire area is just 3 enemy rooms where you fight stuff, which, again, they're just gauntlets, and so far I've had 5 gauntlets up to this point. And then 3 rooms with minor exploration that are connected by elevators, and they're all sort of disengaged from each other. I liked Okabe. He had Runda's energy. No, I felt more... Okabe's the one I liked the least. I felt more Mandalorian energy than Runda's. And stuff like that. I just don't think any of the characters have that much of a sass. I think that the best ones in terms of actually having more layers or things they could offer to the story are View and Mackenzie. Because, like, Tokabe's just a regular sniper dude who has a belief on Solon, who's just like your basic deity type stuff that you get from fiction, and that's it. He doesn't have quite the same pride and sort of ego of himself quite like Rundas, or the pizzazz of the delivery from from the voice actor and stuff like that. And even then, like, the other reason I dislike Tokabe is because he's the one who finds the artifact that you use to teleport things back to base camp for Betsy, not Samus. So you rob the player from that discovery or that moment on something that seems to be like a very big, important Lamorntech. View, in my opinion, should have been the one guy that you keep, because he could serve the role of and purpose that all the other hunters showcase. And I do like the approach with his dialogue and stuff from the perspective of a beep-boop robot. Also, now we're playing Mario Kart. I don't know if it's possible for the studio to create a Metroid game like that. For me, it's like they don't understand the basic of a Metroid game or just hated Metroid games. I just feel like they were tasked with making a AAA game. Hence Mackenzie, hence Tokabe, hence Sarge, just being archetypes that people tend to like from other media. And then they just placed them on a Metroid game, and then they figured out ways to make like the progression here and there. I also think that this is part of the reason why Volt Forge is also super weak and lame, because Tower 3 is just a test course. And it's not even like a Tron Legacy light cycle battle or situation. And that's after going through a tower that was just 3 rooms and 3 elevators with enemy gauntlets again. And then 3 rooms and 3 elevators where the solution is just jump down, and then the other solution is find one thing to activate. When I feel like even when you play the original Metroid Prime, you got that variety in the layout and level design and storytelling and world building of like Vendrana or Chozo Ruins or stuff. And it doesn't help that it's the same enemies you fight throughout the entire game. So the enemies you see in Vault Forge, congratulations, you'll see them everywhere else. So what is your opinion on the game after a week or 2 since you play it through? Are you asking for my thoughts, my initial thoughts back in those days, or now? Because like I beat it, this is my 4th or 5th playthrough. I just think that they could have fleshed out more the characters or added them something, but then again, I don't think that they're contributing anything unique to the gameplay experience. You know? My issue, and that's my biggest issue with the Federation characters. They take the control away from me, the player, and they're not contributing anything towards the exploration or the dread or the mystery. And none of them even talk about Silex. Like, well, my thoughts is that I think that this is not a good Metroid game. It's a decent AAA shooter game, but a bad Metroid game, because it only follows one of the main Metroidvania rules, at least my personal, again, this is my opinion, of what would define a Metroidvania experience, that if you grab these rules and you could apply it to Hollow Knight, Blasphemous, even games like Resident Evil and Signalis or Crow Country, that gives it the more Metroidvania experience that Beyond just never has at any point. And then Samus is at her stiffest, and the Federation troopers don't add anything. All the random questions I've been asking about the lore just don't make it more confusing and less purposeful. Silex feels like a non-issue. Like, he's not a part of this story. He's just here for... He's just there. And stuff like that. And like, now I'm playing Mario Kart. Thought I was playing Metroid. Wouldn't it make more sense if they want to teach me how to use the viola and all that stuff, if they incorporated, you know, tutorials into the stages, and by the way I'm traversing through Vault Forge or something with a viola, I naturally get to learn about its abilities while still exploring and finding stuff. You know? I think it looks great. I think it sounds okay. And stuff like that. So like I'm right now, I've been working on my review because there's just a lot I have to say, and I'm just trying to find in a way that I can structure it where I feel like I'm able to voice my feelings and my concerns from a place, from where it comes from, that place of passion that I have for Metroid, and a series that's always sort of influenced me. And I just feel that this game betrays most of everything that made those other previous games magical, while at the same time just trying to piggyback on what the other games did. Hence what I say, that this is just a soft reboot of the original Metroid Prime. The only sort of unique setting that this game has for itself is Vault Forge. And that's just because it's sort of like thunder themed and stuff like that, but it's not the first time we find a facility where an ancient, advanced alien civilization built wacky stuff, you know? Rank the OSC from the Prime, for the 4 Prime games? Well, Prime 1 is definitely at the top. I'd say it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Simple as that. 1 is the best, 4 is the worst. Please, Orf. Sorry. Please, Orf, take your time with your review. You really need to write down everything. You talk about so many things. They're all the truth. I really hope someone from Retro will see it. Thanks, man. That really means a lot. Thank you. Mario Kart. and stuff like that, because I don't want to bullshit anybody. I don't want to just like the game because it's got Metroid in the title and stuff like that. And most of when I say these things, and even if they're negatives, they come from a place of passion because I know that they can do better. With more troubled development and more issues behind the scenes, they still made out the original Metroid Prime, and with less game dev experience. That it just seems weird to me that this game came out the way it is, because it feels more like a Zelda AAA game than a Metroid Prime game. And when not even the lore feels satisfying to follow, or that it kind of has a nice, neat bowl all over the things, and the more I think about it, the less it makes sense, that it just takes me out of the immersion and the experience of the game. And so when I added that there's also now Federation troopers talking to me and taking away my attention from the game and the world, it just adds to the disconnect of I'm no longer in this world. I'm watching something. And I never want to just bullshit you guys about my opinions and stuff like that, you know. I just am trying to find a way that I can convey these thoughts and be thorough about it. I'm planning on perhaps asking people on my Discord and stuff like that for, like, you know, just to give a look at my review and make sure if I missed something or I was mistaken or something, so that it's not just my opinions, but it's also like opinions from other people that I've been talking to since the game came out, like Deadweight and Choso Huntress and other people that have joined me in the server, and that includes everybody in chat from the blind playthrough and this playthrough as well. Like, I've taken a lot of the things that people tell me, good and bad, into consideration for the review in itself. So this game betrayed more of what a Metroid is than Federation Force? Yes, I would say it betrayed the Metroid as much as Other M. But in the case of Other M and Federation Force, I was able to turn a blind eye towards those because of the way the game were branded, were more of like spin-offs or side games, and they were transparent with it being a different type of adventure. Versus this one, which is just like, it's Metroid Prime 4. It was advertised and sold like if it were a Metroid game, but it doesn't even have the 75% ending or something like that. They just put more padding into the game to artificially extend the playtime, and then find a way to charge you $30 to see the most underwhelming nothing burger of a cutscene. Why is the Prime Forest your least favorite? Is it because you aren't even spending much time in each of the areas? In the trilogy, you would hear the themes multiple times. It's a combination. I wouldn't say it's so much because of how little I listened to them in the games, because I was listening to the soundtrack by itself, like while grinding Final Fantasy XIV or just writing and stuff like that. How much did this game cost? It's $60. Reminder, the Metroid Prime Remaster is $40 in the same system. But it has more so to do that things sound nice, but there's no catchy melodies for anything quite like the other Metroid Primes, that I felt that when you hear the songs by themselves, you can paint a picture of where you are at, what you're looking at, or where you're fighting without the context of the scan visors or the world. And so with how heavily reliant it is on like the guitar and certain sounds and melodies, it makes it sound very samey and monotonous in terms of the songs and stuff like that. There's no Torvus Bog melody or Fendrana Driv's melody or Dark Samus or Gandrada or Runda's themes of levels of like being able to convey emotions via the song. And here's just everything's spooky weird with electric guitar. So it feels a little bit too there. I wouldn't say it's a boring soundtrack to listen to, but it's missing this sort of like je ne sais quoi that I felt the other Metroid games and the other music that Yamamoto has composed in the past had. Because in here I'm hearing the same bing 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 bidoo didoo doon that it was in the Silex theme. So like, is it Zelios? Is it Silex? Well, I'm fighting what looks like an orb, and that's just it. And reminder that later on in Icebelt, we'll just fight an enemy that's also just an orb. And we fought Carvex, which was just an orb of sorts in terms of their body ratio. So, like, nothing really screams at my mind or in my ears quite like the other songs, except for maybe Voltforge. That's the closest this soundtrack I feel captures the magic of the other songs. But a part of it does have to do with the fact of what you said. You don't really get to listen to the music, but like, do you remember the theme for Flare Pool? Do you remember the theme for the inside of the Ice Belt? Do you remember the theme for the Great Minds? Because at least I'm able to remember the Frigate Orpheon's theme and the Valhalla's more cinematic theme and the Phase on Mind's out first level sort of music. And stuff like that, you know? Like in the previous Metroid games, I felt that a lot of the storytelling's heavy lifting came from the soundtracks, themes, and melodies, and how they conveyed sort of a whimsy or mysticism towards what you're fighting, both in terms of horror, in terms of action. And here it all feels action guitar, so it's a very monotonous in that regard. And this is like the same people who worked on Super Metroid soundtrack, you know? Like, I feel that also usually the Metroid Prime games have this like crazy awesome final boss theme. The Metroid Prime's Phase 1 and 2 themes, the Escape theme remix, and the Emperor Ing's theme at the end of Echoes, the Dark Samus remix in Face. But then in the Silex one, it's just kind of like a whatever cinematic. So it makes this feel more like a score for a movie or a show rather than like a soundtrack for a video game. Yes, I do remember the music for Agon Wastes and the Skytown Berserker Lord. But the point is that those are two like subsections to other areas that have music, and if not, you're only naming one area per game. Do you remember the theme for Flare Pool? What about Great Minds? What about Soul Valley? What about Ice Belt Inside? Because Skytown has a song, and then when the song disappears, it makes you feel eerie and distraught. And then Agon Waste having no music in itself and just the humming bums and stuff in the background really help conveys at the lore of the area, a once thriving land that is now wasted and desolated. So much so that I guess Beyond had to copy it. So it has no much of original ideas of its own aside from psychic powers and Lamorne lore, I guess. But even then, in the Skytown area where you face the Berserker Lord, there's a Xeno research facility that has that weird Metro Prime 1 sounding song. And even then, we're talking soundtracks that have Omega Ridley, Brio, Rundas, Gandrada, Gore, Celios, Molganar themes that you just remember, or Torvas, Lower Torvas, Sanctuary Fortress, Higher Sanctuary Fortress, Dark Samus, and so many other themes. The only theme that I remember from Ice Belt is when you activate the facility, but even then, I feel like it's just a song you hear once and then never again because you don't really go back in there. Hey Shira, how you doing? I still miss Yuri, by the way. So I would say that yeah, this game has the weakest soundtrack as a whole. Voltforge is the only one that I really feel conveys the lore and the purpose of the facility. The ice belt, when you turn it on, feels more like you awaken a giant, but it doesn't really say much about ice belt as a whole. I felt that the music that it plays when you're on the outside of the facility says more about it in the area than when you activate the generator. I feel like the generator song is just there to sort of kind of like echoes be the echoes of the Lamorne civilization, but then you put it into perspective of the area that you're at, and it doesn't quite make sense compared to like Wolfforge. Alright, this isn't constructive at all, but I really don't like what they did to the Pirates theme in the opening. Me too. I just felt that it was just a little bit too similar to what was done before. I don't mind the return of the bam 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 dan dan from like the Space Pirates and stuff, but no, I don't really like Fury Green's theme. I'll be honest. I don't find it as magical as Torvus Bog or Talon Overworld, or even Green Brinstar. It just tells me it was a peaceful forest that has a peaceful dungeon temple, and that's about it. I think it's a nice sounding song, but I just don't really like it. Man, the theme of Wolfforge when you turn on the first generator, it shivers. Yeah, I agree with that. When you turn on the generators, it's pretty cool. Please talk about music, game sounds, and bosses in the review too. Always in comparison to the trilogy and to what Prime 4 tried to do, without considering the trilogy. You get what I mean? Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about this game in a vacuum. That's why I'm so far when talking about the game, tried my best to not compare it as much to the other Metroid games, because I don't think it's too fair for a review. So like I would be talking about it on itself in a vacuum, and then use the examples or comparison to the previous games is just to more or less kind of like showcase my point, but I try to just explain it without it. There can be a difference between a music being good and then me enjoying a music, but I wouldn't really consider Fury Green's music captivating quite like, say, Chosen Ruins, or even Temple Grounds, where I felt did a better job of just telling me what the type of adventure is going to be. Fury Green does it in a sense, but I always felt it more about the natural balance with the Lamorne and I guess the natural world, but that's about it that I can think about. I like that the Chozo Ruins was like the beat it has behind it, and that it helps convey it like these are desolate ruins of what once used to be a civilization and stuff. But you know, there's also the subjective. I just think that it's too much in your face. This game, like the soundtrack, much like the rest of the things in this game, is too much in your face without saying much of anything, but still trying to say a lot. But because there's no like singular unified vision or themes that we might want to traverse, it doesn't feel like it all comes together. So we just get parts of something that's still being cooked on. Car brain rot, but I love the sound the viola makes when you prepare this racing platform. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like the sound effect the viola holograms make. Like you'll hear here, I think. I like the sound effect. But I think I like it because it's a sound effect I heard in Star Soldier Banishing Earth back in the Nintendo 64. They used this for for that game's like warning screens when the bosses would appear. What does a viola to snap animations when you place it on it. I don't know. After you beat the game, you unlock the psychic lore, which is required to stitch together the rest of the story. Damn. I also don't like that, like, you have to be very specific with how you hit the green energy crystals. It's not like you hit the bigger one and then you get the rest automatically. No, you have to manually run into each one of them individually. All I ask, chat, is like, give me time for the review. It's gonna be definitely a longer video and stuff, and I'm considering a couple of gags or different things I haven't done in other videos, so like, just do know that I'm writing it, I'm working on it. I just know your review video will be great. I'm so stoked. You convey and articulate your feelings about the game very well. It's because you just get the essence of the Prime trilogy. Wow, thanks, man. That's some high compliment. That's really some crazy high compliment. Of I'm really honored and flattered. I'm just trying my best to be able to convey what these games are like so magical to me. This game is so fun. More power to you, dude. I don't like it. I know I don't need to collect all the green crystals and fill the energy bar, but how else am I supposed to truly say 100% of this game? I'm just trying to collect enough green crystals in my way so that by the time I'm going back to get the fire shot, I can also get the boost to my power beam, because if not, this game is gonna be, the enemies are gonna be way more spongy. So I'm just trying to at least get enough green energy as I'm going to my next objective, so that by the time I'm going back to Mackenzie, I can turn in some of these green crystals and unlock that ability. Don't blame me that they put it like this. I am not stoked to hear criticism, hate, but just pure enthusiasm about the franchise. Yeah, I mean, like, my criticisms and quote-unquote hate isn't just because I want to hate on the game. It's because I'm so passionate about Metroids. And I think that it's Nintendo's strongest franchise and stuff like that. And I hate people just being complacent about it and not, like, taking a moment to look back and see, like, wait a minute, this isn't really much of a Metroid-like experience. What I do like about this bike is that it reminds me of when I used to drive, like, dirt bikes and ATVs at, like, my great aunt's farm, but damn, they could have at least put a little bit more melody into Soul Valley. Like, again, this just reminder to chat, this is like my fourth playthrough of the game. So I know where to go, I know what to do. I'm just taking the quick opportunity to also get some footage of Viola green energy crystals connected, because we're about to just go to Flare Pool to watch 2 cutscenes, fight a group of Cybots, get the fire shot, and then go back to Mackenzie so we can go to Ice Belt. So this is the point that it makes most sense to collect some green energy crystals to try and get that beam upgrade back in Fury Green, because I'm playing this on a Switch 1, so my loading screens are longer, so I'm trying to get the best out of, trying to maximize it, you know, the what I do between loading screens. Like, even when I got the game for the first time, I kind of liked, you know, riding the bike in Soul Valley and then having music so I could, like, reflect on the lore or what happened in the area. But then the more I played, and I noticed that there was like a lot of nothing burgers, and I started to really wish that Soul Valley had a banger of a theme like Vault Forge. But no, I gotta spend $30 for an amiibo in order to unlock that feature. Yeah, I also thought the Soul Valley was either going to be an area or a hub area that changes as the story progresses. So every time you come back to it is slightly different or it's set in a different time period and stuff like that. More or less to what like Majora's Mask or Nier Automata did, or even Nier Replicant did with their hub worlds. I think that Prime 4 feels better, like a better game in repeated playthroughs from a mechanical standpoint. But it lacks a lot of the sauce that make it memorable and emotionally engaging. I like doing things in this game, but I don't like living in this game. I would say that that just makes it that the rest feels worse. Because like the other times I played the game, I like it less because I start to realize that there's no Metroid DNA in here aside from the requiring one power up to collect another type of stuff, but there isn't like backtracking to discover a new area or trying to figure out where to go because the maps are very linear and they show you where you have to go and what you have to do in 3 different forms, because there's usually a cutscene with a map that tells you where you have to go, and then a Federation trooper that reiterates the same information, and then you realize that the map doesn't really present with much opportunities for you to feel like lost or try and hide the linearity of this map. Like Metroid games are linear games, you know, there's always just the intended route of getting from one place to another, but it's how they hide that set linearity because of their maps making you go hoops and bounds to find secrets that this game doesn't quite have. Like Flarepool, this entire area is just a Disney movie ride with Armstrong and Duke. I don't think Nintendo made the expectations too high on purpose. I'd say that the expectations were set too high because, you know, we were expecting I was just expecting that sort of same ebb and flow magic from a 2002 Nintendo GameCube game, but this is more of a AAA game, you know? It doesn't have the same ebb and flow from Echoes or Corruption that make them memorable, and though it's closer to Corruption, I feel that Corruption at times even had more of a mysticism and mystery of what you're doing and why, or how do you get from one place to another, that this game just doesn't have, while still trying to take control away from me even more. I did a joke about it even in Ubisoft games. There are enemy camps. Why doesn't Soul Valley contain space pirates and stuff? Better question is, why doesn't this game have more enemies? I can give you any of the other 3 previous Metroid Prime games, and they have more creatures and enemies to fight than this game. It's the point of, like, when I start comparing this to any of the other Metroid Prime games, the weaknesses start to become way more apparent. And I feel the reason a lot of people compare it to the original Metroid Prime, it's because this game feels the closest to it with the recycling of ideas and themes and power-ups and stuff. But then also because, you know, the original Metroid Prime is the one that's also available to be purchased on the Switch for $20 less. So how are you not going to make that comparison? So, like, you know, in something even like Metroid Fusion that's very linear. Like, say, when you go to Sector 2, Adam tells you where to go, but how do you get to the data room is up to you because you need to find the level 2 security locks. And once you acquire the bombs, the trick is, all right, how do I get out? And They throw an SAX chase at you, and the boss with Zazabi and its own unique mechanics, and all this other stuff. And then when you return to the Sector 2, it's completely theme is different than the first visit, because now there's Obergrove and all this other stuff. Versus you go back to Fault Forge, but you go back to the same rooms you already visited, and they're no different than what they used to be before. And there's never a point where you're trying to figure out, how do I go from one place to another? Even when you're supposed to get out, it's usually a path that's right there in front of you. I think that not hiding the linearity is the bad thing, because if not, then it's not a Metroid game. It's just like a Zelda game or something else. It's the hiding the linearity is what made the original Metroid and Super Metroid such legendary titles, and why people felt like they were stuck as a rat in a maze in those games that this just does not have at all. Just like Other M. Because, like, look, now I have the fire chip, but I don't immediately get the fire shot. I gotta go back to Mackenzie so he can integrate it in my armor and explain what I could do with a fire shot. A power-up that I've collected at least once in a previous Metroid game, in the form of a plasma beam. If there's no hidden linearity, then what's the difference between this and Halo? Or this and Titanfall? Even the original Metroid Prime and Echoes had, like, that type of stuff. And I feel like just, like, bringing it up. Most of the enemies in Prime 3 were space pirates. Yeah, but you had Steam Lords and Steam Butts, the Reptilicus, the Warp Hounds, the little circle flying guys in Brio, the little security drone robots that fired missiles in Skytown, pirates that came with different armors and the fences as well. But, like, this one is just Grievers, Spinnerbots, and Cybots. Berserker Lords. And comparing it to Corruption, it's a disservice, because that was like a, you know, it's not like Beyond had how many years after Corruption to learn from its mistakes or its shortcomings to not repeat them and make them worse. And even then, like in Metroid Prime 3, the main focus, and then you also had all the creatures on Phase, and Phase on Metroids, and Miniroids, Inglets that returned. You could kill with a grapple beam and interact with a grapple voltage. And I'm just trying to think from the top of my head. Shriek Bats are still there. They look different per planet as well. And then you had a bigger variety of mini bosses that also made up for it, with like the defense drone in Skytown, and the pirate that's riding that creature in like Brio Thorn Jungle.
Looks like you found some Lemoyne technology in Flarepool. I'm pretty good with machines. Want to bring it back to base camp so I can take a look?
Wow, where are the crystals, man? Hello?
Spin.
Oh, Spin! Oh, hi, Pawn.
Hi.
Welcome to Copium Prime 4 Beyond These Nuts.
Beyond disappointment.
The point of backtracking is not just showing and using abilities, but also discovering new portions of the map that shed more light into the areas that you once explored. Which this game doesn't do.
Do you have any music on
No.
right now?
No, it's
For the bike? No?
No. This is what you
Oh.
Unless you pay for the $30
I was gonna say,
amiibo.
you know, you could do a bit where you could play the Fenrir mount music
From 14?
on top of it. Yeah, from 14.
I might
I'll
do
put
it.
like
I
Cruise
might do a bit like that next time I'm in the desert.
At least have some entertainment while you're
Yeah,
riding in
at least have something to
Arrakis.
entertain my mind in Arrakis.
The great
Where's
value
all
of
these
Arrakis,
green energy
actually.
crystals, man?
I was gonna say, like, the great value of Arrakis.
Great value Arrakis.
Where's Shai Hulud?
Shai Hulud. Yeah, they didn't even
Where's
have like a
the Mud
sandworm reference. Echoes had at least the more of the Dune references and stuff.
The other Prime games have more Dune references.
No, chat member, you're getting me wrong. It's not that you just go back and use the power up, but that you use it on a room that you already explored and you're not exploring anything new. That's the magic of the Metroid backtracking. When you go back to Sector 4 on Metroid Fusion, you visit the underwater section. When you go back to Phendrana Drifts, you visit the Chozo Temple, and then you visit the pirate facility area, and then the Phendrana Cliff Tops. And here you go back to the room that you were before, use the boost ball, and then go back down to one extra room, to fight Silex. And I feel that, like, comparing it to all of these older Metroid games that had less budget and all this other stuff is not doing any compliments or service to this game when this is the newest 2025 video game that had...
All while Mackenzie's like, you can go here, you can go here.
All the while Mackenzie's like, please come back so I can give you your plasma beam. Like, you don't visit a fourth hidden tower in Vault Forge or a completely hidden sector underneath. The closest you get to that type of intentional backtracking to discover a new portion of the map is when you go to Icebell to collect the spider ball. And even then, it's like 3 or 4 extra rooms, one cutscene, and then you fuck off.
And that's another neat thing about, now that I just think about it with the bike. Sorry, it's off tangent.
Yeah.
14 gives you an option to turn off the mount music.
Yeah.
And play. And it comes free with your mount!
Yeah, imagine having to pay $30 to unlock music. And then I realized that it's not like even giving Soul Valley a song, it's just a music player. So you can play the music from other bosses in other areas instead.
You know what you should do with this video for Beyond?
Yeah.
We do a bit, you, Gab, and I, when we're, you know how like Red Letter Media was like doing, it broke new ground!
Yeah, I felt about doing that because this
clapped.
really feels like we go to the Great Mines at the end and find an Omega Griever at the bottom. Oh well!
I clapped!
Plasma eyes and wave beams, but in reverse order.
I applauded it for being different.
I applauded Mackenzie for being different. Tokabi broke new ground.
I recently watched that clip and Rich Evans just dying at the back of
And
me.
the ATSD should be you going, Viola, soup! Silex is in the intro, but not the space pirate. Oh well.
Oh wow!
Silex has new Metroid fusing subspecies, but it's never explained how or why. Oh well. The last Metroid was never in captivity. The galaxy was never at peace. Samus, you can go visit any area that you want in any order that you want. Oh, sweet. Except no. Then why tell me that, Mackenzie? Why are you lying?
Are you telling me Mackenzie lied to me?
In my Metroid Prime 4?
That's more likely than you think.
More likely than you think. No, it's not a superficial critique, chat member, because that's how the other Metroid Prime games and Super Metroid even got themselves to be popular. because they show you more and more of the world that made it feel more alive than just the one thing that you have. So when you remove it, you're also removing a big sense of the exploration, because backtracking shouldn't just be go back to a room you visited. It should also be it's more go back to the region to discover a new portion of it. It's not a
That you couldn't
superficial
have
critique.
a
It's something
reach
that
because you
every
didn't
other
have the
Metroid
upgrade.
game has done, and every other Metroidvania game since then has done. The problem is not that you're backtracking or returning to the areas. The problem is that you're not discovering new things in the areas. You get the Viola Icy suit by just driving into the third tower, using the boost ball, and then you leave. You get the shock beam because you go into Vault Forge again, go down to one more extra room, fight a boss, and then you have to walk all the way back to Fury Green to talk with Mackenzie. I just went to Flare Pool, watched one cutscene, fought 3 Cybots, got a fire chip, and now I have to go back to Fury Green to get the power-up that I acquired. Just so that I'm not doing anything with it in Fury Green immediately. So, like, if there's no backtracking, if the backtracking doesn't lead you to discover any new portions or lore or things about the map, then what is the point? Like, even something like Skyward Sword had you visiting new areas when you backtracked into them. even the original Metroid on the NES. I'm so lost. Hold on. Yeah, no, I know where I have to go. I just wanted to check my bearings of where I'm at, game.
That happens every time you press a button?
That happens when Mackenzie tells me where I have to go and I haven't opened the map, and then I open the map. And there's no way for me to turn off the hint system like in the original Metroid Prime or Echoes or Corruption.
Bruh.
The thing that makes some good Metroid game is the map layout and the secrets and the things that you can do, not the rest. The rest is just the superficial stuff. But when there's nothing else to discover, then yeah, I mean, I don't know what copium people are smoking, but please pass it over. I sure need some. About the Metros, why did they specifically fuse with the boss and how did they get in the area that are sealed? I don't know. Ask the people who like to defend the story of this game, because my answer is I don't know. There's nothing on the lore.
Chat, just so you know, I have not played the game. I don't think I'll be planning to play the game.
You're not missing much.
And given the fact that there's no Dexamoso because she's not returning, that gives me a lot less incentive to play.
Yeah, like, there's no, like, alright, I go back to Vault Forge, but because I reached Vault Forge through, say, Flare Pool, I found a different section of both Vault Forge and Flare Pool. Just backtracking, the backtracking of going back to an area should also mean discovering new portions of that map that you didn't have access to previously because you didn't have an ability to get to that secret area. Similar to, say, how in Talon Overworld, that game's Fury Green, you needed the gravity suit to go into the downed frigate Orpheon, and that takes you to the other side of Talon Overworld that connects it to Phazon Mines. But in here, I come back to Fury Green, it's just to talk to Mackenzie at base camp. He gives me a chip, and then there's nothing else for me to do in Fury Green aside from item collecting. Optional item collecting, I should add. There's only 3 times this game does backtracking. Twice the Vault Forge, like I explained, and then 1 time of Ice Belt that felt like a traditional Metroid backtracking.
Welcome back, Samus.
Yeah, I agree. The most fun I have from backtracking was boost bowling into the Grievers.
Alright, what do you got? It looks like a circuit, and it seems like there's a chip inside.
So why can't I just put this in my arm cannon and make it work from the first place, even though I have like a Lamorne suit?
Oh, this is fascinating. I see. This program converts the energy that the device emits into thermal energy and highly amplifies it. If I tweak it and integrate it into your arm cannon, you should be able to use another new
The map layout is not superficial, chat member, because the map layout is what is the puzzles in themselves. So if the map layout is not interesting, then the puzzles are just your Zelda used hookshot here, and then the other thing here. Saying that the map is superficial in the Metroid game means that you don't. It's like the whole point of the game. The maps are the puzzles. It's not just superficial. You look at the way the other maps are designed and connected and intertwined with different puzzles and objectives and lore, and then you start to realize that that's what makes the game more alive. This makes it more like it's a hallway in a Disney ride. It's not how you solve the puzzle, but finding the puzzle and being able to put 2 and 2 together to find the solution to the puzzle, and then being rewarded by discovering a new portion of the map that allows you to find more lore and make the world thus feel more alive. What did I get from this fact tracking or this puzzle solving? I didn't do anything. I was just handed the fire shot. My capture card really doesn't like this room. It's like I'm playing this game half blind because, like I said, I'm having capture card problems. So despite it not having an issue on your end, it's the output side of my capture card. So my screen turns black every once in a while. In Metroid 2, you rarely go back to the places, and that's why people consider it to be one of the worsts. But even then, that game was like, we're comparing it to, we're really comparing it a Nintendo Game Boy game. We really have to go to that level so Copian to defend Beyond's terrible backtracking, but not comparing it to the rest of its sequels. It's called Metroid Prime 4. Like, it's doing the same mistakes as from Samus Returns. Therefore, I would blame more Prime 4 for being a game that came out later with a bigger budget and all this other stuff than a remake that was told to just be straightforward a remake of the other game. The issues and the flaws of Samus Returns are owed to Return of Samus. No. I said that these games hide the linearity, a difference from Zelda. But Metroid Prime 4 does not hide its linearity. It's just linear. It's just a Zelda game. You go to Fury Green, collect the key from the Master Teleporter, and then you don't have to return to it. The same thing that happens in the Great Mines. You even have to backtrack into that. And backtracking is part of the puzzle because where can I go with the power-ups that I have to unlock a new portion of the map? I think you're just completely misunderstanding what I'm saying. But I'll leave it at that. I don't know what's the copium. This is not what the other Metroid Prime games did. It's structured like a Zelda game because you go to an area, collect the Master Teleporter key, return to a room within it, and that's it. It'd be the same as saying Skyward Sword when they ask you to return to the temple. You don't find an underwater section for any of the areas or you get sent to a different time period or dimension like with Fire Brio, or find the Xeno Research Facility and then the Federation Facility in Skytown, or the Fendrana cliff top side with its own secrets and puzzles to discover, and because there's no map design. This game is designed more like a Zelda game than a Metroid game. It just pretends that it's a Metroid because it makes you go back 3 times and use power-ups you didn't have before. Ah, shit, I was back there and I didn't... I was too busy renting that I forgot to power up my beam. So yeah, this is the point where Samus should turn into a Griever. Given what the lore says. But I guess she's got chosen one immunity for whatever reasons.
So much Baja Blast.
I just hope I have enough. Again, Kricken, I'm glad that we're comparing a 2025 game to 2004 games, but in Zero Mission, you also have sequence breaks and different ways that you can defeat and finish the game. So the lack of backtracking isn't really much of a problem because when you play the game a second time, you can complete it in a completely, you can finish it in a very different way than you did it your first time. So that one compensates by having that non-linearity with the other one. This one does not have any of that. And again, we're talking about a remake of an NES game. Not a 2025 AAA game that had so many years in development and stuff like that. But I'm gonna stop it here. I'm honestly just getting tired because I know I'm not gonna go anywhere with this.
Welcome home. Good luck out there, Samus. I'm on the house if you need me.
Ricken, you're missing my point. And at this point, I don't know how to convey... No sé cómo decirte la cosa que... Entonces, no, I'm not gonna bother, man. I feel like I've already said my piece. And the other games have backtracking and discovering new portions. If it's not because of the main route that you're going, it's because, in the case of at least Zero Mission, you can finish it in other ways. That's not enough? Wait a minute. Do I need to do this again? Bruh. Forgot. I just wanted the power up to my beam. I thought that I could collect a little bit more.
Couldn't stay away, could you?
Esto no es Metroid, man. It's a AAA game that's disguised as Metroid. And I'm sorry to say it, but it's more of a Zelda game.
Catch you later.
Alright, I think this is when I'll call it a stream, just because it's been a while, and I'm honestly a little bit tired. But I'll probably be here back tomorrow or Friday to record more of the gameplay and stuff like that. I just...
Inflict more Baja Blast.
Yeah, just collect more Baja Blast and stuff, and find the lore that just makes less sense the more I think about it. But I digress. I really do appreciate all of you guys showing up and talking regardless of what's going on and stuff like that. But yeah, like I don't really think that this is that much isn't really a big Metroid game, and I hate to be the one to say it because I was the #1 guy excited for this, but I feel that if I just try and ignore the things just for the sake of playing a new Metroid game, then I'm doing a disservice to myself. When out there in this current age. There's so many other games that cost less that offer better Metroid-like experiences than this, just because it's called Metroid. So yeah, I'll still be here. My goal is to finish recording the rest of the game so I can go ahead and do my review, say my piece, and then probably never touch this game again, much like other War Federation Force. Because in the 3 playthroughs I've found the lore or the bosses or the world isn't as mesmerizing, but it takes much longer. But yeah. How old is your avatar design? I think I've seen it for the first time about a year ago in your main channel video. Yeah, it's a new design. I just haven't made a lot of videos to showcase it. But regardless of everything, thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate having you guys over and chatting and all this other stuff. It really means a lot. And I'll catch you guys next stream.